President Biden is prepared to take on a Republican on the ballot next fall, but is he ready for a challenge from the left? Cornel West, a semi-celebrity among progressives, is running on the Green Party ticket next November. That's the same party that Democrats blame for spoiling the 2016 election. And CNN's Isaac Joubert and Eva McKend are here with new reporting on growing concerns among some Democrats who see a progressive Green Party bid sneaking up on President Biden. And they're here to discuss now. First of all, this quote from David Axelrod, who's our colleague who helped get Barack Obama elected. This is going to sneak up on people. And he said, I don't know why alarm bells aren't going off now. They should be at a steady drumbeat from now until the election. I'm sure they were thrilled to see that in the White House.
As they often are when David Axelrod makes a comment like that. But look, the mixed metaphor that he used there, though, is getting at where a lot of Democrats are thinking about this. And within the Biden campaign itself, there's not concern so far about this, but the Green Party has a ballot line in a number of states already. I think it's 16 states already. In 2016, they were in 44 states. So when you think about the attention that's been going to this no labels possibility and how that could spoil the election, they are still getting on the ballot, whereas the Green Party is much easier to get there and would be there with a candidate who is well known among progressives, has celebrity and connection to a lot of Black voters. And that is what is generating this concern.
Such an important point. And you have a quote in your story from the Michigan Democratic Party chair saying, I don't think Cornel West or the Green Party is something we need to worry about, but it's absolutely something we need to keep an eye on. But I'm sure that that party chair knows the history of that state and also Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Back in 2016, you just have to look at what happened. The Green Party, look at Jill Stein was on the Green Party ballot then. Look at the votes she got and look at Donald Trump's margin.
Now, Democrats can't afford to cede any of their coalition. So I think that some are recognizing that they would be remiss to ignore the threat of Cornel West. Something that struck me about our conversation with him is the attacks are so pointed. And I asked him, did you vote for President Biden in 2020? Why are you so disappointed by him? And then when you kick the tires a bit, even though he was part of this anti-fascist coalition of Bernie Sanders supporters that spoke well of Biden, he got in the voting booth and didn't actually vote for Joe Biden. And the way that he described that evolution on that issue, I think was in an authentic way that other progressives will be able to connect with that message. So I think that should be of concern to Democrats.
Yeah, like the argument that Jill Stein makes for what happened in 2016 and West echoes, and should be said, Stein is working as on West's campaign now, is that those voters wouldn't have turned out at all. They weren't Hillary Clinton voters who left. That is not something that is going to put people in a very comfortable place going into what many of us expect to be a tight election.
Such important reporting. You can read the full story on CNN.com. Thanks for sharing it with us.
Welcome to a special edition of the Nick and CJ show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
Hey, what's poppin', my friends, my family? It's great to be back. Another week of RBN. We also have the Labor Summit coming up this week as well. So this is going to be a very exciting week. We got a lot of great topics, a lot of great panels planned for you guys this week. I'm very, very excited. But we also have a lot to discuss as well. Make sure you guys check out my appearance. I was on Jimmy Dore, if you guys didn't see that last week as well. So between Jimmy and Glenn, you know, I've been busy running around these shows, but it's good to be back in RBN on Mondays. And I want to respond to that video because you guys see this is what third-party activists been waiting for. We said, and our theory was, despite the Democratic operative narrative pushers that say if you run as a third party, you'll be ignored. No, we had third parties that was ignored. That doesn't mean that will always be the fact of the case. So what happens if we get someone who's well known, who has a ton of credibility, not only on the streets, but inside the system as well, to the point where they'd be undeniable, right? You guys see why they're really afraid of Dr. Cornel West. This is he's the real threat, not the Marianne Wilson supporters, right? They already know they're going to bring RFK Jr. to Hill, but Dr. Cornel West is freaking him out. But I don't want you guys to misunderstand. Do not misunderstand. The threat, despite their narrative, is not Dr. Cornel West. Dr. Cornel West, the man, is not the threat. And this is what the problem with third-party movements has been. That it's been too much focus on the man, the person, the Jill Stein, the Howard Hawkins. And the threat is the movement, not the man. The threat that they're really afraid of is a movement that is permanently outside of two-party duopoly, permanently whooping their ass, out hustling them, reading more than them, being more intelligent than them, having strategy. That's the real fucking threat.
Yeah, and a thing like this, a campaign like his would be the little seeds, the seedlings to a growing movement. And that's what they come in. That's what the establishment is known, coming in right away, cutting that shit way early, because they learn from Martin Luther King. They learn, letting that shit fester, letting that shit build momentum. And then you have this Messiah. They said, oh, no more doing that. So to your point, let me bring up this headline because it's on topic. So let's just talk about this topic.
And
that's
go
ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to add to that, and now I'll pass to you for the banner. The way I'm moving up right now, like I'm extremely pro leaderless movement, right? So to me, Dr. Cornel West, his candidacy is just a tool for a greater overall goal of revolution, of upward social change. That's why when people criticize Dr. Cornel West, people say, Nick, how you feel about Jimmy criticizing Dr. Cornel West? I'm like, I don't care about the man. Why I'm not his press secretary? The fuck? Like, RBN not here to defend people. We're not here to defend politicians. I got my eye on the movement. What are we doing? What are you doing? We got a labor summit coming up. We got RBN chapters popping up everywhere. I have a mutual aid event I'm planning next week. I'm gonna try to get some graphics made because I'm gonna try to raise $1,000 for school supplies for poor children.
Let's get on that. I can get on that. We'll be all pitching in for that.
So, like, what are you doing for the movement? I'm trying my best. Like, people are like, "What are you doing?" Like, man, I'm trying. You know, like we're trying, motherfucker. We struggling in this capitalist system. So instead of focus so much on the man, what are you doing? What can we do to bring towards a change? And what I'm doing, and Dr. Cornel West is down. Like he said, use his name. Didn't he say that on the show?
Yeah, he did.
So we use his name to pull people away from the two-party duopoly, to get people aware of the issues that he's raising that we agree with. So I propose as a working class, I'll pass to you, CJ, I want to start with this. I propose for us as a working class, not get hung up on these leaders, not get hung up on electoralism, use every opportunity, anything the establishment gives you as a tool for the working class. So I'm asking you this question. What advantage do we have as a working class trying to use the Democratic Party as our tool, CJ? Trying to vote for Joe Biden. What is our advantage there? There's nothing we gain from that. And this is why I want to debate Kulinski, because this is the kind of philosophy that he don't even cover on the channel. It's way beyond them, right? What is your strategy? What do you think the working class what strategy should we engage in that will most take advantage of our political power? Going for Jim Crow Joe, the strike breaker? That's your idea? I would ask him. That's why I've been challenging them. I've been loud as fuck, CJ. They've been dodging me.
Because think about it, Nate.
Go ahead, CJ.
Because think about it. If you're a leftist and you say, "Hey, I'm for Medicare for all," and you say, you say a bunch of things that the Democratic Party is not for. So then the question becomes, Nick, then what's the difference in you voting Republican or Democrat? Because if you vote Republican or Democrat, you're not going to get Medicare for all.
Yeah.
You vote Republicans or Democrat, you're not going to get money out of politics. You vote Republican or Democrat, so who you're not going to get money out, you're not going to cut the military budget. So who do you vote for, in other words, Nick, if you are a person who says, I want a candidate who will cut the funding to Israel and stop funding the military industrial complex?
Yeah.
Who do we vote for? Who? In a red balloon, it's no one,
right? Like,
exactly.
You have to look for a third party, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Exactly.
CJ, go ahead. My bad.
No. Then I was just gonna get to this article here. We all saw this article. This is kind of one of those articles that kind of was under the radar just for almost a day, because this didn't catch fire until the next day. It was almost the 17th hour of it being out. Then it was like, oh wow, what the hell is this garbage? And then when one person tweeted, another person tweeted. But of course, it got ratioed to oblivion.
Yeah, you love to see it.
Yeah, you
That
got.
looks
I
savvy.
think.
Looks savvy.
Hey, there goes Savvy right here. Pointing.
That ratio. Savvy.
Perfect. But let me read the headline here, so we can talk about what they're saying here. And that is Cornel West, or let's say Dr. Cornel West's candidacy on the Green Party line confuses some of his longtime political allies and friends, while also alarming top Democrats and black leaders as a potential time bomb for President Biden in the next year's election. Go ahead, Nick. You're going to chime in.
If you are a and I've seen quite a few of them. I've seen them on Twitter. I've seen them on corporate media. If you are a black activist and your main political goal is to elect Joe Biden, you're not a black leader. You're a Democrat. You guys see, you're black leader. No, they're Democrats concerned. They're not black leaders.
They love to give. Oh wow. The first two are pretty good. Let's cover them. This is Jimmy. It says, if voting third party didn't matter, they wouldn't spend so much time trying to scare you away from doing it. That's the point we've been making. Also, if Cornel attracts enough votes to swing the election, then that's exactly the leverage that we want, which is a great point. If I were the Biden campaign, I would try to think of another solution to try to this problem besides voter shaming, scare tactics, and character assassination.
Fam, that's all they're doing because they have nothing. Even the progressives have nothing. You should vote for Joe Biden, cuz. We are socialists. We should organize. We should campaign. We should knock on doors. We should phone bank for Joe Biden, cuz. Oh, you're a racist if you don't vote for him. That's all they have.
It's simply because Trump thing falls so flat. It's something that sometimes I feel like they feel uncomfortable using because it falls so flat. Because we've been through a Trump presidency, Nick, and this is something we're going to get into later, so we won't go into it in too depth. We've been through because when we get to the Kyle segment, we've been through a Trump presidency and a Biden presidency. So we can clearly, literally, just with being fact-based, like not take the names away, just go off what their policy has been. We can clearly go, wow, this seems like one of these is clearly worse than the other. Go ahead, Nick.
The funny thing is these Democratic operatives, especially these young Gen Z operatives, their body betrays them. Their body language betrays them. Can you ever see them talk about stuff they really care about? Come on, we got to do something about gun violence, guys. We got to go fight for student loans. We got to go protest the Supreme Court. Then they're like, come on, guys, we got to vote for Joe Biden because Donald Trump, Donald Trump, they don't have the same fucking energy. They know it's bullshit. We got to vote for Joe Biden because Donald Trump is worse, even though Joe Biden funds ICE more than Donald Trump, fund the police more than Donald Trump, is spending on all of Donald Trump's worst policies, like his policy in Iran, funding Israel. Same fucking policies. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, let me read Max's tweet, and then we'll read a couple of paragraphs of the article here. Max says, and Max is in another segment. Wow, so that's another overlap there. The Dems or Democrats are going to try to bribe Cornel to drop out, offering some shiny position as dean or department head with mountains of donor money promised to the university. If that fails, and we need to make sure that fails with Cornel, they will resort to the time-tested tactic of voter suppression and calling him a Russian asset. And we can kind of say they're already sort of planting the seeds for that when they keep referring to Jill Stein anytime they interject. Oh yeah, and by the way, Jill Stein is is with him. So there's that, as if there's a wink, the kind of a wink, wink. So something's going on. Go ahead, Nick.
So Dr. Cornel West was forced out of Harvard because of his hardline stance on standing for the Palestinians. He's the only major candidate that's standing for the Palestinian people, by the way. And my question is, do you guys think that Harvard and the establishment didn't try to get to him before it got to that boiling point?
Yeah.
On that issue? They definitely tried. He hung on there longer than I thought he would have, usually, right? So then they realized, like, we ain't getting this dude. Get him the fuck out of here, right? So I hope, and I'm just using, I have no evidence for this. I'm just using Dr. Cornel West's past actions as something to say. I don't think he's gonna sell to establishment, but we got to keep our boot on his neck. We got to keep pressure on him. That's why I'm not mad at anyone who criticized Dr. Cornel West at all, because that'll only make him better. That'll only make our movement stronger. But yeah, there's definitely something that Max Blumenthal was on point on. And now we already see Democrats saying that he have right-wing DNA. He's a Putin apologist. Like, they already character assassinated him. That's why I was like, Dr. West, you don't have to appease them when you're talking to them, because they're gonna hate you no matter what, because they're class enemies. Right. But go ahead, CJ, you can continue.
And it's the same sort of advice we was giving to Nina Turner. So it doesn't matter. Don't turn your back on Palestinians, because they're gonna hate you regardless. They're gonna say, you're an anti-Semite regardless. And you kind of see that with RFK Jr. also. But let me read a little bit of the article. The title: Democratic Worries Bubble Up Over Cornel West Green Party Run as Biden Campaign Takes Hands-Off Approach. That's them, Nick. Hands-off approach means he is cognitively not able and not capable of going out. And that's how they phrase, this is a different approach. He's going to be doing something slightly different. Why? Well, you know what works and you know what he's good at, what should be retail politics.
That's also because whether Joe Biden versus Dr. Cornel West, God forbid, he'll put that boy in a coma. Or anyone, like any Biden surrogate versus any Dr. Cornel West surrogate. John Mubraka is close on the campaign. Imagine a Biden surrogate versus a John Mubraka. Imagine Joe Stein versus a random
I'm
Biden
thinking any
surrogate.
of them. Chris Hedges, any of them. Just put any of them.
But that's why they have to. My point being, that's why they gotta go hands off, CJ. They got to use their media. They got to use their media contacts. They got to use their Democratic operatives to smear him in a hands-off style, because they directly try to combat Dr. Cornel West. They're gonna get put in the graveyard. Period. But go ahead, CJ.
All right, so let's read a little bit. Cornel West's hold on a second here. Candidacy on the Green Party line confuses some of his longtime political allies and friends, while also alarming TARP Democrats and Black leaders as the potential ticking time bomb for President Joe Biden in the next year's election. The political philosopher and proud agitator is tapping into his semi-celebrity. You know what? I'm starting to notice them use that line, celebrity, in the first sort of 3 weeks of articles. They didn't have that. Now they're starting to use that. They're trying to time to Trump. You said, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean. They're trying to time Trump in any way possible. Especially on the Ukraine position. And there's a headline. I may pull it up if I find it, but it said RFK, Donald Trump to Dr. Cornel West. Why there's so many Putin puppets going on right now? That's the headline saying. Yeah. So essentially, what the headline saying, you have RFK, who's more of a libertarian liberal, right? And then you had Donald Trump, who's far right neo-fascist, and then you have Dr. Cornel West, who's far left. So you got a very large representation of the Overton win on there. They said pretty much all of those people are Putin puppets. Only the liberals are right. It's so absurd. Everyone on the political fucking compass, except warmongering liberals, are Putin puppets, according to these people now. But go ahead, CJ.
All right, so I'll read this last line again. The political philosopher and proud agitator is tapping into his semi-celebrity to attack Biden from the left, where the president has never been fully embraced, and describing his administration as a mere postponement of fascism. Go ahead, Nick.
I'm sorry, CJ. I just want to emphasize that what they just read there in the framing, where the president has never been fully embraced. You mean the left, who the president never embraced? Why is the onus on us to embrace these motherfuckers? And that's the thing. That's the counter argument we get all the time, where we criticize politicians from every angle, and then now every once in a while someone would be like, "Hey, Nick, you always bashing people. Who do you support?" I'm like, why do I have to like a politician to validate my opinions here? I don't have to like your fucking politicians. All of them suck. That's the point. But anyway, why
it'd be like with cancer, Nick? Why you hate all cancers? Who do you like? If everything is bad, if all of it is bad, what do you want me to say? That's like, why are you always bringing America and capitalism back to slavery? Because it all lead back to that. What do you want me to say? That's what it does. You want me to take blinders on of the truth of what is supposed to be? So
I wish we had a Claire Daly in the United States. I mean, Claire Daly segments that we done. The point being, we always gotta look across the fucking ocean to find a politician to praise. Cause we like, goddamn, look what Claire Daly said about Ukraine. Look what Lula said about Ukraine. Not in the United States, but go ahead, CJ. We can continue.
Yeah. All right. So I'll start from that part there, where the president has never been fully embraced, and describing his administration as a mere postponement of fascism, which is great. This is sort of surprising that CNN is entering some of these phrases in here, the postponement of fascism, when talking about Biden, and also saying that he is being attacked from the left. To me, those are key things that they're putting in these articles. As concerns over Black voter enthusiasm bubble among Democratic operatives, West is also making a deliberately race-based argument, accusing the Democratic establishment of treating the electorate like a plantation where you got ownership status in terms of which way you vote.
See, now that's a devastating line. That's why Dr. Cornel West is a threat. Because what I said this way before the Dr. Cornel West thing was a candidacy was even a thought in anyone's brain. CJ, what I say a year or two ago? I said, how we would have a giant working class threat if you had a Black-led third party. If the Green Party became the Black Party, and people are like, what do you mean Black Party? Yeah, if you're a white ally and you agree with our agenda, of course you would support us, right? But it should be like the party where, like, if you're Black, yeah, you vote for them. like it's a cultural thing. Like, yeah, that's the Black Party because they got our agenda. They got the working class agenda. If that was a thing, right, that's what the fuck we need. That's why we need to put. That's the pressure we need to put on the Democrat and the Republican establishment. To just have an outside constituency of our brothers and sisters and our allies. Like the people walking with us, the people who want what we want, right? And then we can have real influence on our culture and our society. And that's exactly what the Black neoliberals don't want, because they sold out to the establishment. That's exactly what the establishment don't want. These are just strategies on how to take advantage of the small amount that you should invest in electoral politics, correct? Because if you're going to invest in electoral politics, why do anything else other than this? That's my question, right? But go ahead, CJ.
This is so funny, though, how it's ironic, I should say, how we were just talking to Dr. Jill Stein. We all was in an interview with her with our third-party summit. I think it was last year. We were like, yeah, the Green Party, what do you think about it being a vehicle for Black voters, like moving Black voters from the Democratic Party? And this is now sort of like a party that people are known. Oh, that's a party where there's a lot of Black people in it. And we even cut a clip on that. And now to see Dr. Cornel West, a Black person, but he does speak to everybody. I must say that he does speak. He is multicultural. But this is what we always say. It's not that he's Black and he's only talking about Black shit, but being Black led from that Black perspective, that sort of, being here in this sort of oppressive state from slavery and all of this experience of oppression and the different dynamics and the transitions of all the state powers through police power and everything. This feels different. And it feels, because of all of what I'm saying, because,
I hear you.
That makes him, he's a Black candidate and he can articulate that type of thing. I think this is a special moment, but let's continue with the article. And one more point. So when they say he's already losing Black voters, it's not like Cornel West, he has 80%, and Cornel West is going, let me snatch those up. They are already leaving him, and they're trying to act like he's like somehow like taking them from them. But let's continue. Most top Democrats remain skeptical West will raise enough money to mount an extensive operation. He jumped from little-known People's Party to the Green Party after a rocky rollout, and are the Biden campaign's lead of deliberately not engaging him with him. Go ahead.
And let me say, I made this point before, but let me say, that was high key 3D chess. I'm not saying they did on purpose, but that was a 3D chess move, fam. Because announced on the People's Party freaked so many people out, they accidentally gave him coverage. And he forced the Democratic operatives to show their hands. The people like Cal Kulinski and Crystal Ball, like, man, I really wish Dr. Cornel West was running as a Green Party candidate or a Democrat. And then he ran as a Green Party candidate. They were like, what I meant was,
how dare you? How dare you, Cornel?
So people say it was a rocky rollout. I disagree. That shit was 3D chess. It got them extra coverage, and it forced people to show their hand. And there's people that had no intention of ever supporting Dr. Cornel West that was saying stuff like this. They were saying stuff, well, I would support Dr. Cornel West if he didn't run for People's Party because they didn't think he was going to leave. So then when Dr. Cornel West left, they were forced to show their lack of integrity. And it was there were so many people that we caught doing that. But go ahead, CJ.
I think we did a segment on Kyle doing something like that, backtracking on something
shamelessly.
Like that.
In one segment, maybe Gravy ran as a Democrat or Green Party. Then really the next Susie switched. Come on, it'd be better if you ran as a Democrat. Come on, man, have integrity. But go ahead, CJ.
And then it goes, but his decision to run on the ballot line, which Democrats blame for spoiling both the 2000 and 2016 elections when Green presidential nominees drew enough votes to help give Republican key states in the Electoral College, has made his candidacy a running source of angst and increasingly a topic of private conversation among multiple Democratic leaders nationally and in battleground states.
Private conversations. How do you guys think those going? We're fucked. they sipping wine at their parties. Chuck Schumer talking to fucking Nancy Pelosi. We're fucked, son. And Dr. Cornel West. Yeah. If we don't kill this motherfucker, something don't happen to him, we're fucked. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, because it's a person that's kind of like, if they said there's one person we really don't want, like if it was 5 years ago and it was like one person we really, for a third party, we really can't have, it would be Dr. Cornel West, because it is so hard to attack and smear him. Because what you're going to do, attack him, Anderson Cooper, all we're going to do is pull up about 10 interviews you did with him where you're calling him brilliant and fantastic. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Or, who, Don Lemon, you want to do that? Who, Matthew, like Chris Matthews, like anybody you say.
That's such a good point, CJ. I'm sorry, but that's such a good point. It gives them no side. They're in such a bad position, the Democrat DSA operatives. If Jimmy ran, and you guys know we like Jimmy here, but if Jimmy ran, nigga, the Jimmy Industrial Media Complex will be exploding right now. They will double and triple their income, CJ. That would be
the Vanguard's new logo will be them smoking cigars with money in the back falling down.
Nigga, they will all be balling, son. Their channels will explode because every day, Jimmy Dore this, Jimmy Dore. They already do it. But imagine if Jimmy ran for president. It'd be the Jimmy Industrial Complex will explode. There'd be more channels popping up. There'd be more of them because more people take advantage of the grip. So that with Dr. Cornel West, that's not going to happen because they don't even want to talk about it. They don't want to give him coverage. So you guys see why that's such a great position to be in. That's why when someone asks me, I'm like, Jimmy Dore is perfect where he's at, right? Perfect for where he's at. But the Jimmy Industrial Complex, the establishment will love someone that will be easy to demonize, right? Dr. Cornel West puts these people in a very, very tight spot.
Continuing, and while many political insiders have been buzzing about the group No Labels trying to get on the ballot in many states with a presidential candidate, The Greens are already here in 16, and in 2016 got up to 44, including the most competitive states. This is where they are definitely afraid, because they know, like, there's a good chunk of states where the hurdle to get on the ballot isn't too hard. That's the reason why it's kind of like they already know, oh, it's going to be another 20 states. Like, they already know they're going to get on. So they already know they're going to clear like 35 at least. They already know that. And then the other ones they'll work to get. That's what's putting fear into the establishment.
Sorry, CJ, but they're going to force the Democratic Party to show their hand and force them on ballots again. Which, once again, will only hurt their narrative that they are they're fighting for democracy. Then we're going to use it against them. Like, we're going to be there one step ahead of them every step of the way. Instead of being the dumb left where they tripping along the path, we're going to be one step ahead of them. As soon as they start doing that stuff, we call the liberals and Democrats out for being anti-democratic thugs, like we call them out. That's why we can't support their party, right? But go ahead, CJ.
And here's a quote. This is going to sneak up on people, end quote, David Axelrod. We covered this in a segment. A former Barack Obama advisor who also serves as CNN political advisor. Quote, another quote from him: I don't know why alarm bells aren't going off now, and they should be at a steady drumbeat from now until the election, end quote. There are no sirens blaring, but top Democrats in swing states have taken notice. Go ahead.
Now I'm just laughing with because they are in shambles, CJ. Because we can't see what they're saying, but just based on this, I can just imagine the private conversations with keeping them up at night. But they got to keep a straight face because remember the strategy is not to acknowledge Dr. Cornel West. So when they're in public, they talking about other shit. Hey, Trump is on trial, guys. Meanwhile, back in their hand, Dr. Cornel West gonna fuck everything up for us. It's like, go ahead, CJ.
Because they literally this is the one guy where it's literally there's no real line of attack that's gonna land for a long time. There's no real line of attack that's gonna land.
And they kind of dug their own grave too, because remember Anderson Cooper and CNN helped legitimize Dr. Cornel West in the eyes of the establishment, right? And remember that was the question we used to ask: like, why the fuck did they keep bringing this guy on? And we asked him that question the first time he came on RBN. Why the fuck do you think they keep laying you on when you talking the truth about war? You talking the truth about empire. You call both parties, and even if you got critiques of Dr. Cornel West on the left, you gotta be honest. That never happens on CNN and MSNBC. Like Dr. Cornel West was always that one outlier. Like, why is he the one guy that they allow come on corporate news to say this stuff? But that was a long-term fuck up on behalf of the establishment. Because now what are they gonna do? Turn around and smear the guy that they had on multiple times? That's why
Go ahead,
CJ.
You know why I think they gave him a pass? Because he was one of the people who was like, yes, we need to vote for Biden over Donald Trump. But now he's backed off of that. He's saying, I ain't down with that anymore. But I'm saying, because he was down with that, because what the establishment likes to do, they need to have bait for people like a Noam Chomsky kind of person where they critique the establishment, but they still vote for them. And they need to be, because they need those people who would follow a non-establishment figure like Dr. Cornel West. Oh, I love what he's saying. And he's saying, go ahead and vote Democrat. So they kind of have to give him that leeway to come on. See, look, he's talking about the Democratic establishment. Look what he's saying. Just what you guys are saying, non-establishment people. Look, he's just like you guys. And then look at the end, he's going to say vote for Democrats. And he's not saying that no more. So he kind of pulled the rug up from under them, from that agreement that they had. Non-verbal, that is. But let's read this. Let's read this last quote and then sentence, and then we'll close this article. And then I got another quick clip before we close this segment. But quote: we should be concerned. I don't think time's necessarily on our side. The longer things hang out there, the worse it tends to get. End quote. Said Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis, who acknowledged that the conversation about West has so far been more amongst insiders than voters. Quote, we should try to deal with it rather quickly if we can. For now, Biden advisors...
Like, these people sound like supervillains. That's what I was saying on Jimmy Dore. When I was talking
what
about
is there going to do?
Like they sound like super villains. What do you think you can do? They know what they're talking about, but they don't. They know that we don't. We should try to deal with it rather quickly if we can. They know this shit is rigged. And the people watching this shit in the establishment, like, why you guys letting this shit go on so long? Pull the plug. Go ahead, CJ.
All right, last paragraph. For now, Biden's advisors remain hopeful that the president's record and voters' memories of 2016, when Jill Stein's campaign won tens of thousands of votes in battleground states Hillary Clinton lost, will keep supporters from straying to West. That's what they hope, Nick. If they remember back, if you remember what happened with Jill Stein and Hillary Clinton, it's an approach much like the one being taken by Michigan Democratic Chair LaVara Barnes, who told CNN, quote, "I don't think Cornel West or the Green Party is something we need to worry about, but it's absolutely something we need to keep our eye on." That's them, Nick, being afraid of as hell, but they can't tell people. Don't create a panic. We are afraid as hell, but don't create a panic, because this literally puts their boot off of the neck of the possibilities of that, what he can do. And this is why he can't run as a Democrat. Because then you are under their boot when you do this in the Green Party, and his name is big enough where they're like, oh, damn it. Oh, because his name is big enough to really pull people in, especially black voters, considering his black enthusiasm numbers are
before
receding.
Dr. Cornel West even announced, they was doing stories about how black people are leaving the Democratic Party, why black people helped lead to Trump, even though white women vote for Trump twice, but they always blame us, right? They're like, why black? Well, what's up with this rightward drift of black men? That's the stories they will run, right? We get blamed, even though white women vote for Trump twice in a row. But hey, the mindset of the white liberals that we owe them something. We owe our allegiance to the Democratic Party, as we're going to cover later as well. And we shouldn't complain at all. So you have. Anyway, I'll pass it back to you.
Let me play this one. This is the last video for this segment, and then we can move on. But I think this is a good one to kind of close out. This is one Fox News. Actually, I'll just let it play. Talking about third parties. They're talking about Cornel West and RFK, and just third parties in general, considering the within the bounds of the Democratic Party.
Talk about Democrats, because there is panic in the Democrat Party that there could be a third-party candidate that could threaten Joe Biden's reelection. Take a look at this poll showing the willingness of nearly half of American voters neither want to vote for a Republican nor a Democrat, or they're willing to vote for somebody else. That is a remarkable
number. Now, better follow through, motherfuckers.
Danger. But also, if there's a third-party candidate that's a conservative, the Republican nominee could be in danger, because it seems like the American electorate is dissatisfied with all of their choices.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, and I think the danger is a little bit more for Democrats for one reason. Just because Republicans for 12 years now have been going through this Tea Party movement, and then Donald Trump, who I would argue is a third-party candidate. I mean, the first thing Donald Trump did when he came on the scene was he beat all the Republicans. And then once he did a hostile takeover of the Republican Party, he then went after Hillary Clinton and then took over that as well. The Democrats have managed to keep it together, to keep their corps together and not go through this. So their vote, and we see it with RFK Jr., their voters are dying for somebody different, an outsider, and they keep getting the same corpses like the president, Joe Biden, and it's not working. People don't like him. They don't want him, or they get a Kamala Harris. And so I think that there's a real trying to sort of keep this thing together as best they can. And that's why they went with Joe Biden in 2020. But I think the seams it's going to come apart at the seams for Democrats, because they have not addressed this problem, which is they don't like the party, they don't like the establishment, and they want something different. And it's why, at the end of the day, if Republicans go with Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump wins.
I think you're right. And by the way, if Joe Biden won't debate, RFK has to threaten a third-party candidacy if he doesn't debate, and Joe Biden will show up on stage.
And we were showing Cornel West in that graphic. And both of those men, third party or not, are incredible speakers. And Cornel West, an incredible thinker, off the cuff. And 2/3 of voters think Joe Biden is too old for a second term, period, end of story.
So don't let anybody kid you. Don't let the Democratic establishment kid you. They're against Joe Biden debating because they know he has cognitively declined. This is the reason why they have a different strategy with their campaigning with him also. So this is why it doesn't matter. No amount of pressure. They know the guy is not here. There's no amount of pressure that's going to get them to come up off of that unless they switch candidates. Unless they switch candidates. That's the only way. Go ahead.
Now, when you look at that segment, I don't. This is why I tell people to don't get too caught up in the sauce, right? Of the red-blue game of trying to fight Trump supporters, trying to fight Biden supporters, trying to win those people over. I have more focus on the people they're talking about, the people that say they're tired of the Democrats and Republicans, right? You got both parties pretend their echo chamber is larger than it is. The same thing when Kulinski said all black people vote Democrat. No, you guys forgetting half people don't vote. And then among the people who vote, a lot of them are getting tired of the system. Meanwhile, if you go in the sauce, there are blue people, people in the blue team that pretend that their team the best. The narrative, everything shifted around them. The people who are MAGA pretend that the MAGA is the best. Everything centered around them. The narrative, the culture war, the most important thing ever. It's not. Our plan is to make them irrelevant through our movement at reaching these people who see Joe Biden and Donald Trump and disgusted. That's why I shock people when people say, "Are you trying to win over Trump supporters?" I said, "Not really." If they come along, that's great. But if you're part of the two-party duopoly sauce, I'm not really chasing you. That's why I go aggressively after people's favorite politicians. Because if I go after RFK and you get pissed, you're not my target audience. Like if I go after Donald Trump, you get pissed, you're not my target audience. If I go after AOC, you get pissed, you're not my target audience. I'm going after the people who's tired of this shit. The people who have revolutionary potential, not people clinging on to Donald Trump is actually pretty good. That's why I see people who would like attack Dr. Cornel West for calling Trump a neo-fascist. Like, what are we supposed to take it easy on Trump now? Are we supposed to coddle the hands of Trump supporters? Are we speaking truth to power or not? I don't mind what he's saying. My criticism now, like if you call Trump a fascist, you got to call Biden a fascist.
Right.
That's the only thing. That's what we say. But I see people say, "Why you call Trump a neo-fascist?" Because he fucking is. What are we gonna do? Cuddle their feelings? We gotta tell the truth about the two-party duopoly, and that make you upset because you're a cultist. That's not our problem. But go ahead, CJ. I'll pass to you.
That's not our problem at all. I think we can end.
Actually, if you don't mind, if we're gonna do another segment here soon, I have a funny segment that we can. It's kind of related. Could relate to elections. It's regarding Kamala Harris. I saw a funny ass segment on MSNBC because they were in shambles because Kamala Harris is the most historically unpopular president of all time. So they gotta explain to the liberal audience why that is. So guess what they came up with? Oh,
not racist.
People are racist.
Oh my
not
God.
because Kamala Harris is incompetent. It's because she's a girl boss struggling in a racist patriarchal system. So we gotta feel bad for Kamala now. So it's not a long statement. That's why I want to interject. It related to Dr. Democrats and Biden struggle. But you want to do announcements real quick, and then we can get to that next story if you have them.
Yeah. So let's go to the first one. Here is our Substack. Now, our Substack has grown a lot. So if you have not gotten on it and you need to know when we go live, if you need to know when we drop clips, because we send out one link, one email, I think it's every day, 6 times a week. We send out one email, has all of our clips. You can watch the clips directly in the email, or you can click it and watch and have it take you to YouTube and watch it. So, and then there's another email for any live streams that day. So one email for clips, one email for live streams for each live stream that day. But get on our Substack in order to get that going for yourself, especially for all those brand new people here. The other thing is we got about the peak viewership on YouTube, 900 people. Make sure we all hitting that like button. We could easily jump to 800, but that's not the target right now. But we should be able to easily jump to 800 if everybody watching just go ahead and hit that like button. The other thing is check out our website here. And when you go to RBN chapters and you click the Boston chapter, you can now see, for those in Boston, you can put in a mutual aid order. You put your name and you check what sort of thing you need help with. But you'll see all the different choices, but you can go there and check that out. Is pretty cool. She's going to be launching that this weekend. Here is the graphic, and then I'm going to pass it back to you. Here is the graphic right here that we're going to be covering today. And of course, the Max calls out RFK. We already covered Cornel West. And then there's Kyle Kulinski putting his foot in his mouth again. KRS-one out here shucking and jiving for the establishment and Eric Adams. So hopefully we'll get to most of those stories. But Nick has this one, and I think I saw a little bit about this. This is a pretty funny story, but go ahead, Nick, with the Kamala story. I think you're muted, Nick.
Oh, my bad. So I'm actually going to read a few super chats so we don't get too behind. Just real quick, thank you for the $20, Patrick, supporting the cause. Thank you. We appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you for the $10, Gray. Goes for the super sticker as well. We got $10 from Eric Hozal. All I know is that you guys need to take it easy on Kyle Kulinski ball because he's in the process of transitioning. Come on, be nice. He is transitioning to Shannon Cooper. That's funny. White hair and horrible takes. It's almost too well done. Like, because I don't know if he was like sending a message to his previous supporters, right? That he about to go full shit lib. But he dyed it here, and that's around the time we like, all right, I'm going full Biden, bro. Like, maybe it was a little bit earlier, but he's like, it became so beyond parody. Beyond parody. Yeah. But we get to that later. Thank you for super chat, Eric. Thank you for 1999, Martin. Solidarity super sticker. Thank you for 499, Jessica. PBD podcast with Weiner. West is dangerous because black people that the Dems haven't held will vote for West. Yeah, that's what we mentioned as well. That's why it's dangerous, because many of the black people who may vote Democrat by habit, even though they shouldn't do that, they may see a black person on the ballot and they're like, oh, should I vote for them? Like, that alone is dangerous, right? Getting a more low info, getting a more casual voter just because of tribalism, right? Thank you for the $5. So, Nick, you're going to surrogate debate for Jimmy Dore against the Winter Twins, Kyle Kulinski and Sam Cedar. That's why I called out Jimmy Dore, because Kyle Kulinski and these people think they slick, because Jimmy Dore is arguing the fact that we bring up all the time based on covering stories. And this is the argument that Gerald Ford make. It's the argument that our brothers and sisters at Black Agenda Report make. We make the argument that the Democratic Party is the most effective evil. Right. CJ, what other group is louder about this fact other than the Black Marxist left? The Black Marxist left position is the Democrats is as evil or more effective evil than the Republican Party. But what these social democrats do, they think they slick. They want to tie down this position to Jimmy Doreism. That's why they only want to debate Jimmy Dore about it, because they want to tie, oh my God, look at the unhinged Jimmy Dore logic that Democrats are better than Republicans. They want to rely on tribalism to get people taking position. No, it's not a Jimmy Dore position. It's a Gerald Horne position, right? It's the Chris Hedges position. It's a position that the left been arguing for a while now, but they just rely on his name because they rely on Jimmy Dore derangement syndrome. So people just pick a side without really thinking. So instead of debating someone like me who can also articulate this,
never do that. He will never do that.
I literally did a segment with Jimmy Dore on his show, so you would think he would want to debate the person who was on Jimmy's show doing a segment about him. Nope, it's only Jimmy. Not because they want to isolate Jimmy, not because they want to they think they can beat him. It's because they trying to rely on the cultist Jimmy Dore derangement syndrome people that will never side with Jimmy.
Right.
They will side with them no matter what, so they can say whatever they want at that point, and also they can make money. on the Jimmy Dore.
And how about this? If Jimmy wants to debate him, they can debate him on RBN. We could be the go between him and. But yeah, I don't think he would ever debate you, Nick, because
I don't beg. I call people out all the time, but you gotta see no one take the challenge. After Destiny, after Destiny, and after Robbie, it was over. After Destiny, because I'd be like, anyone, people be challenged, like, hey, you want to talk about it? Nope. Cal Kulinski want to debate? Nope. Sam C want to debate? Nope. No, they want to debate me. They would debate a far right, racist, sexist, transphobe any day. They be like, hey, we with Ben Shapiro, we with this right winger, we hanging out with like you have Vosh who called Brianna Joy Gray subhuman. He called her subhuman.
I didn't know that.
But Cal Kulinski and them be with Vosh like, we chilling, right? He dropped M-bombs all the time. Nah, nigga, Vosh is good. But we deplorables though. Vosh literally committed. He admitted. He made a video about it. He sexually harassed. He sexually harassed a girl using his influence, but he's acceptable. We having debates with Vosh today. We're gonna have Vosh on our show, talk about these issues that's important because he's a very deeply serious person. He's a deeply serious sexual harasser and racist. Meanwhile, RBN them niggas are horrible. We're never gonna talk to them. I just want consistency. That's all I want. But anyway, I'll read super chats later. I just didn't want to make sure we get behind. I'm gonna read them more periodically, so we never buried at the end of the show. I'm gonna get to the funny story now, another one, because this is the follow-up to our Dr. Cornel West story, Democrats in shambles. Democrats in shambles again because Kamala Harris is one of the most historically unpopular vice presidents in modern American history. And now I need liberals, and I even need progressives to explain to me why they believe they are so right, but they're on the opposite side of the American people. And I say progressives as well because we're talking about Kamala Harris now, but AOC approval rating is worse than Kamala Harris. Like, do AOC fans know that? Do Ryan Grimm know that?
That's pretty terrible.
And do the people who support AOC know that? So if you love AOC, why don't you even look at these numbers and question yourself? Like, what's going on here? I think it may be that AOC and these people follow Democrat woke culture war bullshit while voting for war and voting for the party, not challenging their party, right? But anyway, the point being, it's a general liberal culture that is taking L's. Kamala Harris, they have as their vice president, and there was leaks a few weeks ago where the Biden administration, there was leaks where they was worried about Kamala Harris. They worry about Kamala Harris because she's one of the most unpopular politicians, one of the most unpopular vice presidents in modern history, and that's despite having Mike Pence and Dick Cheney as vice president, Joe Biden as vice president. She found a way to pass them all. She did it. So how do liberals cope with this, CJ? We gotta watch it. This segment is hilarious. Filled with liberal cope that we're gonna dismantle here.
Now, last hour we reported on new developments surrounding the Florida Board of Education approving new guidelines for teaching Black history, which suggests that enslaved people reaped benefits from skills acquired during centuries of forced labor. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris visited Florida. She went to Jacksonville on Friday and slammed the new curriculum, calling it extremist propaganda. Joining us now, co-founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader, who's taking a closer look at the role that Vice President Harris.
So this member of the K-Hive,
uh-oh,
wealthy white woman. Remember the K-Hive when they were trying to gaslight us and thinking that Kamala Harris had an organic following of Black women? No, literally it was filled with white women pretending to be Black online. That's literally what K-Hive was. Why do I say that? Because this lady right here is the captain of K-Hive here. Like, she's as big as a Kamala stan as it gets. So let's listen to it. She is so hilarious to me.
Is playing in the administration as well as the re-election campaign. And Lauren, your new opinion piece for The Hill is titled this: Kamala Harris is far from the worst vice president. Why do polls say otherwise? In it, you write,
pure cope. Here you go.
This.
Why
is
do
Harris
polls
really
say
doing
otherwise?
such a terrible job, so out of touch with the American people, that she deserves this historic disapproval? Or, as the first female vice president of color, is she on the receiving end of well-documented and deeply ingrained bias? Vice President Harris is not perfect.
Kamala Harris is a victim now, guys. Kamala Harris is a victim. I'll let it continue. It get worse.
And she has sometimes been her own worst enemy, struggling to keep good staff and appearing stiff and scripted at public appearances. But it's hard to square the outsized negative attention she receives with any rational critique, and impossible not to see parallels to the only other woman ever to come so close to our nation's highest office, Hillary Clinton.
Ah!
Can you find anybody worse than Kamala? Yes, we have Hillary too. Let's add her in here.
Jeez, not only is she a K-High sycophant, she's still with her. She's still with her. So she's saying that the reason why Americans don't like Kamala Harris, the cop, and Hillary Clinton, the war criminal, is because we're secretly sexist, CJ. We got to work on that. Apparently, we're deeply problematic here at RBN because we got this sexist, rabid hatred of these war criminals, Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. But trust me, guys, it gets worse. This segment gets worse. So let's continue.
Oh my God.
The parallels are hard to miss. Impossible expectations and double standards for women, sometimes called the double bind, have dogged the vice president from the start. Women in positions of power, especially Black women, face ingrained bias at every turn.
Oh my God.
They are routinely labeled as unlikable, angry, aggressive, and more likely to be subject to online hate. If Harris can turn around her polls, and she must, she not only helps the Biden ticket and her own political future, but paves the way for the generation of women leaders who will follow her. For their sake, let's hope she succeeds. So, Lauren.
This is why I fucking hate liberals. I hate liberalism. I hate their culture. Because I want you guys to understand why I'm about to go so hard at this, fam. You guys understand it does more harm to our cause? You guys realize this does more harm for the pursuit of racial justice and racial equality. Having these privileged shit libs redirect our struggle and make it about the ruling class. Kamala Harris, the war criminal, the cop who destroyed our community, is the victim now, CJ. Oh my God. Look, you guys see why a lot of Americans roll their eyes at this shit? Do you guys think they roll their eyes at this shit because the fact that RBN spit, when we talk about the material reality of Black Americans, the fact that we 40% of the homeless population, despite being 13% of the population, I've seen right-wingers say that's fucked up, right? There are people who don't like socialism who follow me. There are people all over the political spectrum who follow me, who see me spit that truth, and they say that's fucked up. But they see this identity politics bullshit, this shit is this wokeism. That's really what it is. And it harms the real message of the systemic problem. Remember, what did the poll say that we reported on a long time ago? When you ask Black Americans, especially young Black people, we care about material reality. We don't give a fuck that Karen down the street is racist. Me personally, I don't give a shit. I don't care if you like me. I honestly I literally don't give a shit if you like me. I've been like that since day one. You're a white person. You mad I'm here? Die mad, motherfucker. I don't care. I just don't want the system because the system is a larger problem. I don't want the system coming down on us. That's why polls say we not focused on virtual signaling shit. We focus on material reality. You want to know who people who not focus on that according to polls? Every other racial group. You got white Karens, you got Asians, you got Latinos. They all care more about virtue signaling, Black History Month, Kente cloth and shit. They care more about the virtue signaling shit than the actually being for Black issues, right? So this is what the Karen here, trying to redirect what it really means to stand for Black issues. And our community needs to stand up to this. The left needs to stand up to this because people like this, and you guys are going to see why I mean as this segment continue, hurts our cause. It makes the cause for social justice and racial equality look like a joke because these people are. So are we going to let them hijack it? That's my question I keep asking. People are like, you so mean to Cal. Are we gonna let people hijack what it means to be on the left? Are we going to let white liberals and Democratic Party hijack what it means to fight for Black liberation? They care about Kamala Harris being treated right as they build in Cop City. And people gonna let that happen. That's why we're doing this segment. But anyway, let's continue because you guys can see it becomes a joke later. But go ahead, CJ, if you want to chime in.
Let me chime in here because just now that I'm looking at it, like, look at the screen here. Like, do we think any of these people, any of these white people, and you can include the black guy too, you think they care about any sort of racial equality for black people? You think they care black people are going to be getting treated better? But think about how the ruling class does this all the time, where they co-op struggle. They co-op, as if, the struggle that a poor working class black half Indian woman is the same struggle that this person is going through. And it's kind of echoes through the affirmative action ruling, where we were kind of like, well, this affirmative action ruling is for people like in Harvard. This is like for upper, I have never been, affected by this. It's the same sort of thing. It's like it gives them something to argue and to be able to co-op revolutionary language for their boutique struggle. So you can go ahead with the clip.
You have no idea how on point that is, especially as this video continues. Just for the sake of time, I'm gonna let it play for quite some bit because there's a part I definitely want to get to, because this is pure liberal delusion here.
Thank you for that piece, and let's speak about this moment where we see the vice president front and center in Florida over the weekend, talking about this curriculum, but also she has been this administration's leading voice on abortion rights.
She has, and I think that's really where she's at her best. And you saw her, I think Friday's talk about, taking it right to Florida and confronting DeSantis in his own backyard over the, just absolutely outrageous manipulation and rewriting of history. I think with some of her finest public speaking. And I think she's going to need to do more of this. When I spoke to folks on her team, they're very conscious that we're in the early days of the campaign. They haven't fully ramped up getting her out on the road in campaign mode, but I think they need to. And what winds up happening, and Allie, I'm so glad Allie's on this segment with us because she knows this as well as anyone. What winds up happening so often for women candidates, outside the vice presidency, but really around the country, is that they are subject to more negative attacks, more disinformation, more sort of manipulative bias.
Women candidates are more prone to misinformation. What does that mean? So, and they say they're more prone to attack. Ma'am and sir, who has been attacked more than RFK, Donald Trump, and Bernie Sanders the last few years? This shit where they making these women imperialists, these feminist capitalists, sympathetic characters, is bullshit. Meanwhile, let it continue.
The attacks that come at them. And really the only way to address it is to fight back. And to date, she's really not been able to do that or hasn't done that. I think appearances like what she did Friday are her effort to carve that out. But it's been tough. I mean, she was essentially asked to take on a role that's only ever been defined by white men and to somehow redefine it and be successful. And it's new territory and it's extremely complicated for her.
Lauren, I am also glad to be having this conversation with you because you and I have been texting about this since you put your piece out, of course, over the course of my writing my book and talking.
They were texting about this, guys. They girl pals. They were texting about the struggle of Kamala Harris. Texting about how Hillary Clinton is mistreated by the media. Are they tweeting about the 40% of black people who are the homeless people that we have in our community? We have 40% of the homeless population despite being 13% of the population. She's not tweeting about the black women that's poor and struggling. She's tweeting about Kamala Harris. She's like, you tweeted about Kamala Harris. Did you get your Black Panther starter kit yet? After you tweeted about Kamala Harris. That's what they're talking about, guys.
That's what they're talking about. That's how you get it.
Oh my God, people are so unfair to Kamala. Oh my God. Anyway, listen, it gets even funnier, believe it or not.
Talking about my book, the double edge that you talk about with Kamala Harris, I think is not surprising for a lot of us to see that she has some of the lowest disapproval of any vice president in history, simply because of all of the double binds that you present. But I wonder if you can talk about how her team is looking at this moment where the campaign season may actually unshackle her to do more of what we saw that worked for her in 2019 when she herself was running, attacking and being the prosecutor. Do they see this as an opening for her to sort of turn things around?
Now you about to hear some of the most delusional commentary I ever heard in the last year or so. Let's listen to this delusional bullshit here.
I think they do. And, my point in the piece is that that's exactly the right strategy. That, it's very tempting to say when you see a candidate like her, vice presidential candidate in this ticket with low approval ratings, it's very easy to say, okay, we should sideline her in the campaign process. I think that's completely wrong because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Biden administration needs to get her out there. She is a strong surrogate. And
what?
Bro, she wants Biden to lose by a landslide, son. She's telling the Biden administration, she's like, yeah, I know American people don't like Kamala Harris. Don't listen to that bullshit. You need to send her out there because she's a strong black woman.
How is it a self-fulfilling prophecy if the prophecy is not a prophecy once you've already established we don't like you? There's no need for a prophecy anymore. We don't like you, so it's not self-fulfilling. It's we don't like you, so now you're responding to that, and it's kind of like I'm gonna shove. This is what they've been trying to do with Kamala Harris the entire time, and they're retelling history. She dropped out of the race before California because she knew she was gonna lose California. She was gonna come in like fourth. She knew that, so stop acting like people ever liked this particular person. And I think the only reason she even won and became what did she become, a senator over here, is because we have, I think, what is that? I think that is ranked choice voting. Our senator, how we elect our senator, is ranked choice. So it's the top two, no matter what party affiliation. And that's how she got it. She just got it because it was, the top two. And it was Feinstein. So go ahead.
Yeah, we're almost done. Let's quickly wrap this segment up. I want to play a little bit more of this hilarity here. This is her calling for Kamala Harris to be more involved in the Biden campaign because we all know she's just a thrilling, inspiring public speaker.
we should sideline her in the campaign process. I think that's completely wrong because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Biden administration needs to get her out there. She is a strong surrogate. And the only way that you turn around those numbers is actually by putting her out there to do that. There's a piece in the Wall Street Journal also this weekend about sort of the response of Democratic donors to her. And it's clearly mixed. There are some that are, you know, to your point in the last segment, a lot of hand wringing and sort of anxiety about whether or not she's a liability. But the folks who really know her and have brought her out have found her to be an extraordinarily effective surrogate. So the point is you can't, it's different for a woman than it would be for a male vice president. She has to be given the chance to turn it around. And the only way to do that is to lean into her as a surrogate on the issues that she's most comfortable with, on the issues where she's passionate, to your point, Ali, where she can be unshackled, where you can let Kamala be Kamala. And I think that's going to be critical. And just again, like, I can't say this enough, it's different. She's the first. And there has to be a sort of new playbook, if you will, a new way forward so that she can turn this around and really fight back against what is pretty profound bias in the entire system.
Lauren, this is Susan Page. You liken Kamala Harris's experience to Hillary Clinton's, and you see some parallels. So to talk about lessons learned from Hillary Clinton's experience in that campaign. What did she do that Kamala Harris ought to do? What did she
this is about to be Comedy Central
that Kamala Harris ought to do now?
Right. Well, I'm so glad you asked that, Susan, because John Palmieri was here last week and we had this whole conversation about it. Look, I think the famous moment in the debates where Trump is lurking over Hillary, and she said later that she wished she had turned around and told him to back off. And the campaign at the time felt that that would have been a mistake as they discussed it afterwards. I think that's wrong. She needed to have done that. And I think the point is that.
So according to this K-Hive still with her sycophant, the reason that Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump is because Donald Trump was standing too close to her in the debate. Fam,
you can't make
this
this
is Comedy
up.
Central. This is Comedy Central. Donald Trump dismantled Hillary Clinton in those debates. Right? Dismantled. I remember the viral moment when Hillary Clinton said, we should never allow a man like Donald Trump to be in charge of government. And Donald Trump said, because you'll be in jail. Now, we know he's a liar because that didn't happen. But that was a fucking devastating moment. Also, people didn't like Hillary Clinton because she was a war criminal. Not because of this secret sexist bullshit. Right? Almost done here.
Look, the whole system was different then too. Look, Hillary ran pre-Me Too. It was a different media landscape. She had a lot more to contend with. But the fact remains that when women allow the narrative to take over and they don't directly fight back, that narrative wins. And we know this from lots of research and from other campaigns. It's essential that women fight the disinformation and the negative attacks head on. And that's something that I think Hillary could have done more of. But, you know, ultimately, you can't blame her. It was a system that she was operating in. Every candidate has to learn their lessons in their own time. I hope Kamala learns hers in time for this 24 election.
You can't blame Hillary Clinton. It was the system that crushed her, CJ. Hillary Clinton, the victim, crushed by our system. One of the most powerful people in the world. One of the most influential millionaire white women. She was crushed by the system, according to Big Brain.
So unbelievable. So unbelievable.
I want to show just what the black person say, and we can wrap up this segment here, because they're gonna bring the token. Of course, they're not so tone deaf that they would do this whole segment with just a white woman, right? So of course they bring the token in. They bring. I gotta be careful what I say. I almost about to get demonetized. But they bring the House Negro, I should say. They bring him in, right? So let's listen to what they.
And CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader, thank you so much. And Eugene, you cover the vice president. So real quick here, I know there's been real frustrations from the West Wing about the vice presidents.
Look, surely they brought this brother who has his post on the streets, right? Surely a relatable brother, right?
Performance to this point on some issues, but they do think that she's found her voice on a few things, particularly when President Biden himself has acknowledged he's not the most comfortable messenger on issues like abortion.
Exactly. That is a place where they feel like she, one, is just well suited, not just because she's a woman, but because she was a prosecutor. She's worked on these issues for years. So that's one. But they also feel like, and since that Africa trip, I went with.
Because she was a prosecutor, sir? Because she was a prosecutor? You bringing up the negative of Kamala Harris. He said the voters trust her because she was a prosecutor. What? Nigga, we don't like her because she was a prosecutor, sir.
Right.
And I'll wrap his I'll give him his last.
With her to Ghana, and she came out after walking around that slave castle and had no notes. And it had been a long time since I've seen Kamala Harris without any notes or reading from a script, and she was completely unscripted. We've seen that over and over and over again. We have seen her this weekend on Friday when she was there in Florida, who only had a couple notes and not read from a teleprompter. She did that at Howard when she did this abortion event the day that they announced that they were going to do the re-election. So her new team has kind of gotten her much more comfortable.
She can talk. She can string together some sentences, Nick, without some notes. Nick, we do that every day. Let's give her kudos. She can string together a couple of sentences without notes, and that is the threshold now for Kamala Harris. It's truly it's sad to me. It's getting to the level of like Joe Biden's dementia. Like this is now getting to be abusive because it's so terrible. She's so terrible. So keeping her in is like, this is terrible, man. But go ahead.
So this is the person, and we've seen many of these. So I'll show you guys some recent ones. Who's the victim of the system in racist, sexist RBN? Of course, she's being criticized unfairly, right?
And I think that there are those who are unable to see what can be. But there are many more who are able to see what can be unburdened by what has been.
Very profound. Deeply moving shit right there. How dare the sexist, racist American people deny her? Let's see some more profound quotes from Kamala Harris.
And I think the first part of this issue that should be articulated is AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then
Why were you this
determine,
bad?
and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what
How
then
was she this
will be
bad?
produced in terms of decisions and opinions.
What are you talking about, CJ? She's clearly the victim of a racist system that led people to be prejudiced against the first female black president, vice president. She's the victim, guys. Anyway, that segment went a little bit longer than I wanted to go, but that was funny. But anyway, I'll pass it to you.
I got one thing to add here. Just because you brought up the Trump thing, I'm not gonna play it with the sound, but you talking about this scene that he came around.
Yeah, that's the scene that was spirited. Liberals believe that was the worst thing that ever happened to women ever at any time in history. They were like, the sexist Donald Trump with his hyper-aggressions, microaggressions. However the fuck they talk.
All right,
But
so that was it.
According to the deeply serious analysis from that K-Hive still with her sycophant, that is what lost Hillary Clinton the election. Not the fact that she's an unhinged war criminal, deeply corrupt with the Hillary Clinton Foundation, deeply corporatist ties to Wall Street, were responsible for increasing childhood poverty with Bill Clinton. None of those reasons, right? Because she's a victim of sexism, right? And the reason why I cover this is because I'm offended as a black man. And if you're a black feminist organizer, if you care about black liberation struggle, you should be going after these people with just as much teeth as you guys go after the right. Because you want to know who make our issues look like a joke? These clowns. So people roll their eyes when people talk about racial justice, right? Because they think of these fucking woke fake liberals who don't mean it because they feel bad for a prosecutor, someone who locked our people up. They feel bad for Barack Obama, someone who tanked our black wealth. They are unfairly treated. So they make our issues look like a joke. And that's why a lot of people roll their eyes, whether they are right or wrong. So how about we take the fight to them and we make it clear where we stand? That's why I got people all over the political spectrum that follow me, because they surprised when they see it. They're like, I thought all these black activists was woke libs. They see RBN, we blow their mind. Yeah. The woke libs are overrepresented. Anyway, that's the reason why I cover this. Go ahead, CJ. That segment went longer than I wanted to go, but I guess that's my fun segment for today. So I'll pass it for you to
no worries. But so we're gonna do one rapid fire story because it's very short.
Let's read a few super chats. I want to read a few before, so we don't get buried. Just a few, and then we move on. I left off here. I don't mind giving them another shout out. Actually, no, I left off here. I think we got another one from Eric. So big shout out for Eric for the multiple super chats. I will use identity politics against the libs by saying I cannot vote for a oppressor race, and that's a funny way to troll liberals in this election, right? Like, what do you mean I vote for Dr. Cornel West? What are you, racist? Right? obviously, RBN, we wouldn't lean on those kind of shit lib arguments, but they do. So you show to them how ridiculous their argument is. Right? Thanks for the $10, Katie, Nick, for the Solidarity super sticker. As well, just read two more, and I'll get to the rest of the super chats. Keep them coming, and we get to them. I want to do. I'll try. I don't want to get too behind because at the end, I feel like at the end of the show we rush through them. I feel like it's not respectful. So I feel like we take our time and read them in each segment. We can give each one their proper respect. So that's my plan at least. Thank you for the $5. I don't want to butcher your name. Thank you for that, Ziri. Great work, boys. Considering we are up against capitalist, fascist, Zionist regime. Well said, Ziri. And these are the main things we're focused on, right? What the Olayemi left will cancel you on if you got bad take on pronouns. If you say something, God forbid you say something wrong on pronouns, but if you pro-cop, nigga, we done go on your show. We all good. You can be pro-imperialist. You can be for the Syrian war like TYT. Olayemi and them don't give a fuck. But second you say anything about gender issues or culture wars, that's when they flip. We got the exact opposite approach. Right, where we take the topics that Azeri mentions the fascism, the capitalism, the Zionism. Those are red lines, not the culture war nonsense. Then one thing for the $5, ARJ. It being called a Russian agent means holding capitalism accountable. Bring it on. To me, it's always hilarious when I get called a Russian agent. They called Glenn Greenwald a Russian bot. Dr. Cornel West is a Russian bot. Joe Stein is a Russian bot. Literally, if you're not a Democrat liberal on foreign policy, you're a Russian bot, essentially. So if they're not calling you Russian bot, what does that say?
Something wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, last super chat before you move on, and then I'll get to the rest. Maybe after the next two segments. Thanks for the $2 super Seamster Sewing Show. Thanks for keeping the truth coming. Dr. Cornel West 2024. Anyway, thank you guys. CJ, I'll pass to you for the next few segments here.
Yeah, so we're gonna do this. I consider this a rapid fire segment because it is very short. The video is very short, and our commentary will be very short. So KRS-One sells out to Eric Adams is the segment title, but this actually kind of speaks to, Nick, a lot of this going on. You see a lot of this pairing of hip hop artists or actors or just celebrity types with like different politicians. And it's never, to me, I have yet to see it in a sort of good way. They're always selling out. But this is a big one because considering this guy's body of work as far as his music, and KRS-One, for those who may hover around hip hop music and don't know the ins and outs, but you like it, but you don't know all the history. He's considered a giant. He's like a big original sort of in the beginning stages of hip hop, not the inventor, but in the beginning stages of hip hop, he was one that took hip hop to another level with his rhyming. And he has a song called Black Cop that talks about how black cops are some of the more oppressive cops out of all the cops. And this is why this is weird to see him now doing this. And this is pretty sad. So let me play the video, then I'll pass it to you for your comments, because I know I saw you tweet about this too. So yeah, let's play it.
Let me tell you what it is. I'm off the top. This is what we call real hip hop off the block. I'm telling you right now, because back in the day, it was a mayor called Mayor Potch that didn't know his way. He had us looking. He said, war on graffiti. Had us running all up and down the whole city. But 20 years later, guess who popped up? Real hip hop. And you know what's up.
For one, how dare you, sir? How dare you? And I'm gonna say something that may surprise some, because I saw everyone replying to it like, "Oh my God, not KRS." Not surprised. You guys know how many times I had my heart broken at this point. You know how many times I had my like, not him, yes, all of them, all of them, all of them, unless proven with a shadow of a doubt. I mean, that motherfucker's in the streets with us, literally. Without they proving it, I'm not surprised at all anymore. At all. When I see these black celebrity capitalist sellouts. My first article I wrote on my Substack, calling these black capitalists out, abandoning our revolutionary principles. I have no reverence, no respect. I don't look up to any celebrities. Nobody. Only class war. That's how much I've been scarred. Celebrity worship, don't give a fuck. I may respect your work. Don't give a fuck about you as a person. Unless you're down for the struggle. That's for me. That's how I feel. Every single black celebrity that I ever liked, minus a handful. There's maybe like one or two. I talked about Eddie Griffin before. He got punished before. Yeah. Mostly, I'm talking about like maybe a few. Every single one of these motherfuckers, 95%. I say, to be fair, I say 95% rate clip. Let's say that. 95% of these motherfuckers always sell out doing vote or die campaign for the Democratic Party. They consider they are class loyal first, black second. Eric Adams, you think people are like, oh my God, you're not paying attention to what's going on? Yes, the fuck he is. I don't buy that shit. I don't. They got more time than we do. These celebrities, these rich people, they got more time than we do. More time off than we do. How many hours you work if you listen to this? 40 hours, 50 hours. These celebrities got way more time to read about shit than we do. So I don't buy this shit. When they be like, oh, this celebrity don't know. You know what the fuck Eric Adams is doing. But you're class interest first. You tell me, CJ, you tell me if one of us commit murder, any nigga on the street commit murder, you're gonna do a photo op with them, and you're like, I didn't know you commit murder. You didn't know that shit. But when it comes to the black ruling class, you don't know. Get out of here. They know, and then they play dumb afterwards. I don't believe in. Kimberly, I can pass you to read some tweets because that's pretty much what I want to say.
I'll read just a couple. Margaret Kimberly, friend of the show, friend of the network, sucking up to the worst mayor ever, Eric Adams. Why you should ignore celebrities? Exhibit 100, yes. And that's spot on from Margaret Kimberly. Let's read one more.
There was an explosion of black, well, not just black, but homelessness in general. We know that most of the homeless is black, but large explosion of homelessness, a large explosion of black homelessness under Eric Adams, and his response to that was to siphon resources from social services and give it to the police so they can seize the property of the homeless people. That's who you doing photo ops with. We gotta draw a hard line. This is this is a betrayal of the highest level. Yeah. I'm not buying ignorance. None that shit is unacceptable. Unacceptable. That's just my position. That's just where I'm at. I'm not telling you guys out for that's just where I'm at. I don't buy it. When people say, well, P. Diddy didn't know about Hillary Clinton. No, yes, he does. They just make the choice. It's good for my business to support Hillary Clinton. It's good for my business to go with Eric Adams. They're not stupid.
If you're the bourgeoisie, if you're the petty bourgeoisie, it's good for you to be in the good graces of the bourgeoisie, of the people you are aspiring to be. And that's what these petty bourgeoisie types aspire. But so this is the last one I'll read. This is from Kamal from Black Power Media. Wow, KRS-One, what happens to black cop, stop shooting black people? We all gonna drop. This is a line from the song. You don't even get paid a lot. Indutainment is now state propaganda. I guess that means like education and entertainment together. Go ahead, Nick.
Sorry, CJ, but people tell me that the guy that wrote this song don't know. That what people were trying to say to Colt because they still don't like him. The guy that wrote, he knows shit, right? You wrote these lyrics, and then all of a sudden you old and forget. No, that's not how it works. And that's how they want to convince us. They want to convince us that these people used to know. Man, back in the day, he used to tell the truth. Then they got older, and then he changes. No, they make a calculated business decision based on their class interest. This is what Marxism teaches us. They make a calculated decision based on their class interest. It'll be bad for business if you're not friendly with Eric Adams. It's bad for business especially if you don't endorse Hillary Clinton. That's how they think. They're not thinking about what's good for the hood. They're not thinking about community. That's why I said they're class loyal first, black second.
And sometimes black third, fourth, and fifth, depending on what other else sort of category that we put. Yeah. But all right, so then let's move to this one here. This is another very quick story. And then we'll get to the big story, which is the Kyle and Vanguard video, I should say. But so I'm taking you back a little bit before I get to your tweet, Nick. Yeah. And it starts with this here, and it starts with Obama. This is something Obama does. I guess he does on a yearly basis where he puts out. It's becoming a tradition. Let's put it that way. It's becoming a tradition where he puts out his music list, and this is what he tweeted out. But on this list, and it's kind of small, so I won't kind of zero in, but one of the artists here, artists and bands, actually quote tweets him. So he puts out his list and he says, like I do every year, here are some songs I've been listening to this summer, a mix of old and new. Look forward to hearing what I've missed. And here is Lucy, I think it's pronounced Daka, the Koch. But this is the one of the artists on the list, and they tweet out "war criminal," and it goes viral. Look at that. Like when I last looked at it, Nick, it was at 100,000. It's at 140,000. Go ahead, Nick.
How is it possible to be this based? 16.7 million views or impressions on Twitter as well. Finally, someone did it. Finally, someone did it. Now, to our conversation earlier, you know, Barack Obama been doing this cringe shit for a few years now because the establishment want to turn Barack Obama into a celebrity, war criminal to a celebrity. Yeah, bomb some folks. Only bomb the house. Only bomb the hospital. Right now, he released his playlist, and obviously a lot of bots on Twitter. But click his tweet, TJ. Let's do a case study. Click Barack Obama tweet. Let's say that Barack Obama, 75% of his likes, 80% of his likes are bots. Right? Let's say that. Go to Barack Obama. Go to his likes. Let's say 75% of that 240,000 are bots. Right? That's still a goddamn shit ton of people who are liking a book list, a song list from a war criminal. These are people who are programmed by the state that produced the most propaganda ever, the United States, to worship a war criminal as some sort of guy who give you recommendations on what to listen to. And now to our previous conversation, why do these black celebrities buddy up to Eric Adams? Why did it take this long? You know, all these artists like, oh yeah, I was shot out by a war criminal. I was shot out by a war criminal. And finally, we got someone who actually called it out. Based ass Lucy. What a fucking legend.
Yeah.
That's what I said there. How is
That's
it
one of your
possible to be
tweets.
this based? Yeah.
And then this is the main tweet or one of the tweets because I guess somebody wrote about it, Nick, and you can take it from here. Where did you get the article
get that
from?
many likes, like she got hundreds of thousands of likes, 100,000 likes after calling Barack Obama a war criminal, and then 14 million impressions. Right. So, guys, can you imagine? Can you imagine how many shit libs scroll by that tweet, seething, absolutely seething. So not only did a lot of likes, 16 million. If you're not on Twitter, that's an absolutely mountain amount of. That's a galactic amount of fucking views. Even if you say, yeah, they're not all real views. No, that number is a ridiculous amount. So there's a ton of liberals like this motherfucker, seething. So if your tweet is that big, someone wrote a story about it, and it says singers called Barack Obama a war criminal after he puts one of her band's songs on his latest playlist. And Lucy, what I recommend is let us know, like, make sure you keep bodyguards, keep documented diaries about how you're feeling. Like, let us, like, say if you're not suicidal, let us know. Like, you don't have to say it out loud. Leave it in a diary. I'm okay right now. Yeah, I'm a little sad today. I'm okay today though. Let us know. You can't let them shift the narrative because based on what she did, this was great PR for her. Like, her numbers are exploding after this, man. So the establishment not gonna get away with this. And if she does go out ahead, now this is gonna be interesting. What if she does get out ahead of this, right? Because she's like, there's so many people that say, I'm gonna buy your albums now, I'm gonna listen to your songs. She got a giant boost after this. So if she wins this, that shows that standing up to war criminals is lucrative. So why don't the other people do it? Yeah, this is how my mind works, guys. I ask myself these kind of questions. So if she gets out ahead and there's no downside to calling out Barack Obama, why not? Why the other people not doing it? Maybe because class loyalty trumps all. Anyway, go ahead. See, that was a long roundabout way to make that point, but go ahead.
No, that's good. We can end here before we get to the Kyle. Did you want to read any more super chats before we then we get to the Kyle?
I don't know if you saw the video I made today, just for the Kyle segment. But
yeah, absolutely. We can start with that video. I haven't.
Yeah, I'll put it. Actually, I might play it to start out with.
Yeah, you can start. You can start it.
But we can read a few more super chats, and we can start that segment or anything else you want to, any announcements you want to get to. But thank you for the solidarity super chat, abiding. Thank you for the 99 cent super sticker. Thank you for the $10. Christopher, Titus, Mark, Vanderwall Brown. What a powerful name. They for $10. GP annual national meeting August. I think that Green Party annual national
Green
meeting
Party, yeah.
August 3rd to 6th. Seeing Green Party administration. Activists last year got permanent remote event access, so poor folks can participate. Do you plan? So we pretty much talking about the Green Party annual meeting. Thank you for the $10, Christopher. And if you want to see Dr. Cornel West as a nominee for Green Party, because there's still a Democratic Party process, you gotta make sure you register and vote for him in the primaries. Now, I haven't seen any follow up, but I got a lead. I got a tip from people in the Green Party that Howie Hawkins not running anymore. They thought. Remember, we threw that gauntlet down. We said, "Nigga, if Green Party go with Howie Hawkins, not only will we done with it, I would actively lead people away from your party. We will destroy you." And then Howie Hawkins had the pressure we put, and seeing many people within the Green Party coming out publicly saying, "Nah, we don't fuck with it." Yeah, we know that was a mistake. We don't fuck with them. So I hope it's true. Like that's some rumor. We never know. He might change his mind. But I got a source. I got a reliable source in the Green Party that told me that he withdrew his candidacy. We see, but either way,
it is very needed. It's needed that he's extracted out, because a lot of the critiques of the Green Party, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of the critiques that you hear, Green Party, they come from the Howie wing, the Howie wing, and his people, and that's where they come from to be able to even say things.
You would never hear
like I think the COVID take is one of them.
The COVID and the Russiagate.
One of them. Yeah, and the Russiagate. That's the other one. Like, that's straight from Howie Hawkins.
Because I remember I was seeing people trash the Green Party. I'm like, man, I can't even dispute this shit because of Howie. I remember it was like during the Jill Stein era. There wasn't leftist anti-war people shitting on Jill Stein. Like, it was only shit libs. Like, then people would shit on Howie Hawkins. Like, you can't defend him because he's a fucking idiot. And I called him out in our interview. Our interview was very awkward.
Yeah,
I gave him plenty of chances to walk that shit back.
That was awkward.
And he was horrible. He was fucking garbage. And I said, Green Party, if I'm not trying to fucking, I'm down for democratic processes. If you gotta choose Howie Hawkins, that's fine. But I will be fucking done with you, and we will destroy you if you, in a democratic fashion, choose this motherfucker. That's what I said. So I'm glad that he acknowledged that he's not welcome here. Anyway, thank you for the 199 words, Mr. Facial Equality here. Thank you for the 199. I'll read two more super chats before we move on. Thank you for the $10. Romana Lawson. Kamala Harris is the epitome of the Brahmin left. Why would we regular folk find her acceptable regardless of her gender or skin color? That's what the polls show. Class, caste, interest, not sexism. Yeah, I believe the Brahmin was a reference to the caste system as well. Thank you for the $10. Romana, and that's what the
Brahmin left is a word that the
I remember that. Yeah,
they coined that. I think we did a segment on it. Yeah, and we had Professor Catherine Liu from UCI, University of California, Irvine, on. So that's what I remember that from. But go ahead.
All right, I'll read one more. Actually, I'll read two more because I see Eric left two here back to back. Thank you for the $5. Olayemi says she didn't give a damn about Julian Assange because he is white. These people are deeply unserious. So Olayemi didn't give a damn about Julian Assange. I remember that because that was when someone told me that, I was like, that when I started side-eyeing. I'm like, what? She said, what? Because she was good on policing. So I'm like, if you get on policing, usually is the pattern. You be good on everything else. How you get on policing but you weak on imperialism?
Yeah, that's really weird. That's really weird. That's really weird. Yeah.
But that one thing, I'm like, all right, I'm nah. But she don't care about Julian Assange, but God forbid Anna Kasparian feels some type of way about being called a birthing woman, right? That's what she really care about. One more for Eric, and now I'll pass it back to you, CJ. Thank you for $5, Eric. Later, we will find out that Citigroup picked Obama's summer playlist. That was a good one. Thank you for that, Eric. That was a good one. Anyway, I'll read the rest of the super chats after the next segment or two. Pass it back to you, CJ.
All right, so let's get to this is probably the topic, even though we put it at the end, it's probably the topic that a lot of people were looking for, but actually the Obama, because I actually posted on Twitter, I posted your tweet as a sort of a teaser for the topic, the Obama topic. And that got like I think it's like at 500 likes already. So I knew that topic was another hot one, but this is the second one, and this is the Kyle Kulinski interview or discussion with the Vanguard. So you're talking about shitlib on top of shitlib power, like in one segment. So we're gonna try to get through it. I mean, it's not even that long of a clip, but there's gonna be so many moments where we're gonna stop and have to stop and
But one thing I'll say to preface this.
Down. Go ahead.
Just one thing I'll say to preface this real quick, and I'll let a lot of video play because it's gonna be pretty insufferable. What RBN vindicated once again. What did we tell you guys about Marianne Williamson supporters? What did we say? What did we tell you guys about Marianne Williamson, her supporters, and the movement that they was building? And we would consider her. We told you guys that was a Democratic Party sheepdog operation. Mm-hmm. There is zero reason for the working class to get behind Marianne Williamson because the end goal is to turn you into a Democrat. I don't give a fuck what the steps in between are. The end goal is to make you a Democrat. So now that Marianne Williamson campaign is dead on arrival, Dr. Cornel West and RFK render her completely irrelevant. So now that the Marianne Williamson campaign dream is dead, what do they revert to? They're Democrats again. They're Biden bros. They skipped the step. Now that Marianne Williamson is out of contention, they skipped the whole campaign shit. They're like, yep, let's go right back to the Democrat shit. Exactly what we told you guys. And I will always take pride that I saved at least a little bit of money. From the world, imagine you're a working class person you donated to this movement, they're going to tell you to vote for Democrats. But anyway, I let the video play from there, CJ.
All right. So again, this will be hard. It'll be a lot of stops. Just let me know when, Nick.
Earlier, you mentioned something, Gavin, that I thought was really interesting. You were talking about definitely voting for Marianne in the Democratic primary, which obviously I fully agree with. And then you were saying in the general, definitely voting for Cornel West. So the point that I've made on my show, and kind of the point that I've made over the years, even in 2016 and even in 2020, even though some people like interpret what I've said differently, my point has always been, if you live in a safe state, I think you should vote for, the Green Party candidate or whichever candidate 100% aligns more with your values. But I actually think it's a much more difficult moral conundrum in a swing state. I actually don't think it's a very easy question. Like, I'm definitely going to vote for Cornel West because at the end of the
you guys see how the movement building strategy from Kyle Kulinski is incoherent? So he says if you live in a safe state, it makes sense for you to vote third party. But if you live in a swing state, you shouldn't vote third party. How are you going to get to 5%, which is the goal, if you don't have people voting for swing states? So Kyle Kulinski is saying, "Oh, you can vote for third party, but we don't have an end goal here. We're not trying to hit 5%. We're not trying to on the debate stage. We're not trying to do shit. Only resist the Democratic Party where there are no consequences. How does that help build our movement? It doesn't. But let's continue.
But if that's not your goal, if you get what I'm saying, your goal is to pretend like you're for it. That's why you set up the kids table. You get what I'm saying? You set up the kids table. Look, guys, instead of having you guys sit outside on the grass, we have a table for you guys, just like the adults. It's a kids table, and that's basically what it is. It's to make you believe it's a mirage. You see, where do you want to put all of that energy? Put it right over here as we squash that particular candidate. That's all they want to use it for. But let's get back to the video. There's a lot to get through here. So,
at the end of the day, look, it's just the ironclad reality that if we don't get rid of first past the post voting, and if we don't implement ranked choice voting, all the third party talk, whether it's a libertarian, green, an independent, or anybody, it all comes to it's literally for nothing. It's all just like a fake virtue signal show. And I actually think that sort of like delegitimizes the idea of a third.
So this is his new thing that he's been on, I would say, for the last 8 months, maybe. This new first past the post. Because if you go, just literally Google past 12 months of any videos where he's talking about third parties, he never mentions this first past the post stuff. at all. So this is on a newer, I would say, year. Let me give him a year. The last year, he's been kind of on this first past.
That's
the
how you know he's
post
adopting
and
liberal
his
vernacular.
Right.
That's how you know he's adopting your talking point, because you mentioned that he started saying this recently, but this is what liberals always say. You see how he's slowly introducing these terms to try and normalize it among his audiences. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, and to that point, or you're giving receipts to the point that I'm making, and that is that he these are, you know, whatever obstacle that he puts up that he doesn't think is ever going to be. For example, they always thought that saying that they're for third parties would always be a good selling point to the non-establishment viewer and listener, as long as the third party was way out there without a great candidate. And now that they have a candidate, they have to create a different sort of a reason. And to me, that's why this kind of sort of fell out of the air, and they're kind of really going heavy hard at this first past the post voting. But it speaks to the other part where you were just talking about non-movement building, because then you're not talking about. You're talking about establishing a third party that is built to win only, and it has no other reason to be around. And we're talking about no. We're using this as a vehicle to build a movement, and that's not their interest. So let's get back to the video now that I kind of rambled on.
Third party and a candidate who's not a Democrat or a Republican a lot more, that we all buy into this charade that there might be something serious going on here. Now, this, by the way, is coming from somebody. I voted for Jill Stein in 2012. In 2016, I, of course, voted for Bernie in the primary. And then in the general, I voted for, I think Jill Stein ran again. I think I voted for her again. So I voted for Jill Stein twice. So this is coming from somebody who is literally a Green Party voter. I've probably voted for more Green Party people than Democrats, or it's like roughly even. But having said that, like, so let me give you my whole spiel on Biden, because I'm from New York. I'm still technically registered to vote in New York, but I might be going to Virginia, which is a little bit more of a swing state. It's not as safe as New York. So then all of a sudden this conundrum pops up again. So when it comes to Biden, I got to be honest with you guys. I expected Dickie McGee's acts from him. I expected literally nothing, because we're talking about a guy.
He expected nothing, Nick. Did we get nothing, or did we get something? Because so he's about to sell us on all the talking points of corporate media. I can't believe this. This is an independent media guy, and his talking points about selling Biden will be the same talking points that corporate media, the corporate media sold us on Biden. Literally the exact.
Why you guys think we do propaganda report? We show you guys what the enemy say so you can identify them. Like, we show you guys the MSNBC clip, and then Cal and Chris will say the same fucking thing. But anyway, let's continue.
Who voted for the Iraq War. We're talking about a guy who voted for the crime bill and wrote part of the crime bill. We're talking about a guy who supported NAFTA and the Patriot Act. And like his record as a senator is a deeply, deeply conservative Democrat and a corrupt Democrat. So I expected nothing at all. But then when he got into office, like, I was genuinely pleasantly surprised to see.
To see what? Funding ICE by more? I think you said $6 billion to see more funding to the police state. What are you surprised to see? To see a march to sending cluster munitions, to sending billions of dollars to Nazis? What exactly is not in line with Senator Joe Biden? That sounds exactly in line with Senator Joe Biden. Go ahead.
I warned people about Joe Biden's record. I warned about the crime bill. I warned about his conservative record. I warned that he was a deeply unhinged maniac that sounded like a villain on the Senate floor. So considering that, I'm not surprised at all, because he governed exactly like that. So I warned you guys, because him sending COVID relief funds to the police, him funding ICE more, is exactly in line with his character. Him escalating World War III and funding Nazis in Ukraine is exactly his character, which why I brought up the conservative his voting record, right? Anyway, let's continue.
Yes. All right. Here we go.
He did some student loan debt reduction. He did the $1,400 stimulus checks. He said it was going to be $2,000.
Student loan. So let's just take it one by one. Student loan reduction. He's talking about the thing that he set up for a house of cards, where he put it under the HEROES Act, which is connected to the pandemic. And then he says the pandemic is over, and then wonders why the court overturns it. like it's a joke. So he's giving him credit for that. So let's see how many things he give him credit for, and then we'll kind of.
And on that point, just before you play it, on the Jimmy Dore show, I corrected him. He was lying on the show about how the Democrats don't want to cut Medicaid, even though Joe Biden is literally doing that right now. So you guys see how Kyle Kulinski and the Vanguard's audience, because we covered how the Vanguard purposely misleads their audience. Their arguments rely on them misleading you and being factually wrong, right? So his starting point, as you mentioned, on the student loan debt is a non-starter because he's factually wrong on the intentions of the Biden administration. So the only way you agree with him is when he lies to you. They're lying to their audience on purpose. Anyway, let's continue.
That is a great point, and let's continue.
That was a lie, but we got 1,400, which was half decent. In the Inflation Reduction Act, they overruled the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court said the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, is not allowed to do environmental protection. And so Biden and the Democrats slipped it into the IRA that we're redefining carbon emissions as a pollutant. So now the EPA can regulate it again, basically saving the entire fight against climate change by that.
Saving the entire fight of climate change.
Deeply unserious.
The same IRA bill that the Black Agenda Report and Margaret Kimberly wrote about, how this is no climate bill and it's going to destroy the lives of Black and brown people. That's
this
the same
is
bill.
Fucking dangerous, fam. Like, you guys don't think you guys want to know why we cover this? He's lying. He's just openly lying to his audience to get people to like war criminals. Who else should we be disputing? We should be disputing MSNBC, CNN, as we do. These people are the top people that we should be taking out. This is dangerous, ridiculous, deeply unserious propaganda here. But let's continue.
Let's play.
By that one simple procedural trick, which was super base, one of the most base things I've ever seen any Democrat in the modern era do. He raised the minimum wage for federal employees and federal contractors through executive order, which is about 400,000 workers to $15 an hour. I definitely didn't expect him to do that. I didn't expect him to do project labor agreements, which, 200,000 union workers get higher wages as a result of that. I didn't expect him to onshore 200,000 jobs when Trump had offshored hundreds of thousands of jobs. I didn't expect him to do even the mild gun reform that he did, where we have like some funding for red flag laws and we got rid of the boyfriend loophole. So if you have like a domestic abuser boyfriend, that you can legally take their guns now if they're a threat. I didn't expect, Ketanji Brown Jackson, I think, is a great Supreme Court justice.
What?
He was put on the court.
Ketanji Brown
Bro,
Jackson.
you know you're running out of shit when you bring up Ketanji Brown Jackson as some sort of fucking accomplishment.
And this has to be said about these things, because I've been trying to work a way to get people to understand these Black milestones are just milestones of white supremacy. It is literally telling you we are still a white supremacy society because we have to celebrate these milestones because we keep Black people down. So let's celebrate that we have one on court. You see how we didn't let this particular one, we didn't push this one particularly down. We let her get through up here. So celebrate us. You see how that is nothing but us, just a sort of a confirmation that we're still living in a white supremacy society, because white supremacy would celebrate them doing something that should be normal. You get what I'm saying? Only white supremacy would celebrate that. Anyway.
So I want to say one thing real quick before we continue, because you just heard the spill of just a Democratic Party operative. And people say, why you call it Democratic Party operative? Because the goal of the Democratic Party is to get elected. If your job is to help them get elected, if you're telling people to vote for them, you're an operative. Like, that's what it is. And then, so in the beginning, and I don't know why these people do this, as if it's a virtue. It's actually the exact opposite. You know how Kyle Kulinski said in 2012 and 2016, I voted for the Green Party. As if that's supposed to give us plus points towards you. As if we're supposed to have sympathy. You guys know that makes it worse, Kyle. You realize that makes it worse, right? So we have an analysis where you have people who will fight for justice, will be on the right side on issues, and then what happens? They get wealthy. And then once you get wealthy, what interests do you start representing? You start representing the interests of your class. So you, Kyle, openly in public, which is baffling to me, you in public telling how you sell out. Oh, I used to be for third parties, but now I'm down for the imperialist capitalists now. Am I good? No, it's the exact opposite. You are explaining how you sold out because you got rich. How is that something you're bragging about? Are you serious? You seriously bragging about that? But anyway, let's continue, CJ.
I think to the class that he's aspiring to be or that he just arrived in, that is, it's from their perspective, they may have a different sort of outlook. But let's continue the video so we don't get too far behind here.
Court. You know, we have the NLRB is genuinely pro-labor. We wouldn't have seen this increase in Amazon unionization and Starbucks unionization if it wasn't for that. He pulled out of Afghanistan, which I thought was super based, and then he actually told the media to
He's giving him credit for pulling out Afghanistan as he's funding $billions to Ukraine. This is
in lying by omission is a thing. There's a such thing by lying by omission. So if you're talking about Afghanistan with Joe Biden, you got to talk about how Joe Biden seized the funds of Afghanistan to the tunes of billions of dollars, which led to a famine that led to at least 13,000 infants dying. Millions of Afghans are starving because the United States government, led by Joe Biden, seized their assets. So you don't talk about Afghanistan and give him props on Afghanistan without mentioning the financial genocide that he waged in the state. That is lying by omission. Imagine if Henry Kissinger, right, did a diplomatic tour of Central America, and someone was like, "Man, Henry Kissinger is a great guy because he visited Central America. He did some photo ops," and then they don't talk about his war crimes there and how he led the CIA campaign that slaughtered millions of people, right? So you just talk about his activity in Central America and Latin America without bringing that up. Imagine you talking about George Bush legacy. And you're like, you know, George Bush actually had an aid foundation in Africa. And you don't bring up the Iraq War. That's a giant lie by omission. And that is what Kyle Kulinski does. He get praised for pulling out Afghanistan. Joe Biden destroyed Afghanistan. And he's continuing to do so by seizing their funds. But anyway, let's continue.
Great point.
To suck his nuts as he did it when they were like flipping out over it. And he took a hit in the polls as a result of it because they hit him so fucking hard on that. And he went down in the polls, but he pulled out and said, no, I'm not going to go back in. Now we can talk about all the, you know, the negative things, like he's fucking starving Afghanistan right now via sanctions. And, you know, he did a drone strike
we
that
can just talk
killed
about
innocent. It didn't lift a finger for the public option or the PRO Act, gave up on
These are big
$50
deals.
minimum wage for the whole country, bombed Syria, sent troops to I could give you the pros and the cons.
Some small bullshit. He like, I'm gonna give Biden props on some small bullshit, and then he's I'm gonna talk about the negative shit he does. And he bring up giant mountain, big giant fucking things that he did wrong. He like, I praised Biden out pulling out Afghanistan, but he only started 1 million people. Like what? What?
I'm trying to understand where is he going here. So let's listen some more. I'm trying to get what is his point here.
But my point here is $15 corporate minimum wage, billions of dollars for Made in America green jobs, which was part of the IRA, the PACT Act, which gave health care to toxic burn pit victims who are veterans, massively reducing the drone war. And he did all this stuff without a fucking supermajority. Obama had a supermajority, and he did like 40% of what Biden was able to do. So I look at that and I go, my purity test in 2020 was like, if I was convinced Joe Biden would just do a couple of the things that I support, just like 1 or 2 or maybe 3 at most, just like if I thought for sure he's going to get me victories on some 3 things I like, then I would suck it up and vote for him. And my point back then was, I don't think he's going to fucking do it. Based on his whole career as a senator, I don't think he's going to do it. I think he's super goddamn conservative. But then
remember what we said about people who use the term purity test? There's not a single person who uses the term purity test who's not a shitlib. No fucking person who's right on the issue and represent their values will use the term purity test. Like, you either stand for something or you do not. You either care about Medicare for all, Kyle, or you do not. Right now, you're standing for someone who said they will veto Medicare for all, who threw millions of people off their health care. But go ahead, CJ. I know you want to chime in as well.
Yeah, because if you're saying I didn't know Joe Biden would govern this way because he didn't. But you just listed off a bunch of things, how he governed. When you say the cons, how he listed the cons, those are all in line with Senator Joe Biden. So their threshold to say he's different is that not that he's still doing some of the same shit, is that he sprinkles in other different shit on top of it. So like in the IRA bill, there's where I think that's the one that gives over thousands of miles of land to possible drilling or something like that in the IRA. That on top of some of the good stuff he does, but if you combine that together, that's a wash. So this is what the professional managerial class does. And you said it earlier, it's lie by omission. You can only say Joe Biden's good is if everything you list, you omit some sort of fact about it. That's the only way you can have a list. Oh, he pulled out Afghanistan. Oh, yeah, I said, yeah, this other thing about Afghanistan over here. Yeah, he did this. Yeah, the IRA where he does this. Yeah, the Willow Project. You get what I'm saying? It's everything. You gotta act like something else didn't happen in order for you to give him credit for anything. So then the question becomes, Nick, if you know, because he's acknowledging he knows the bad stuff, but you're only giving him credit for the good stuff and not giving him dinging him for the bad stuff. What does that make you but a Democratic sheep herder? Isn't that what Democratic sheep herders do? They don't weigh the information against the Democrats. They say that's not worth anything. They only weigh the stuff that's for Democrats. But go ahead.
Yep, and you do that when you're not a victim of the crimes of the Democratic Party, when you're not one of the protesters that been their head cracked, their skull cracked in, protesting Cop City that Democrats are building, right? When you're not a victim of any of these policies like Kyle Kulinski, you can only focus on the good because you're just trying to sell a political party. But anyway, let's continue. I'm sure there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a ton. Let's let it play a little bit.
And now I look at it and I go, number one, I actually probably should have voted for him. I didn't. I actually didn't vote in 2020. I kind of should have voted for him. Number one. Number two, if it comes down to Trump versus Biden or DeSantis versus Biden,
you should have voted for Biden.
And I'm in Virginia, I think I would go cast a vote for Biden because for all the issues he has far surpassed my expectations.
What do you think the Vanguard is doing right now? Do you think they're going, wow, this guy sounds crazy because that's the faces? Or do you saying, wow, this is what we're going to have to start accepting because we're taking orders from our Kyle. We're taking orders from Kyle and Crystal now. So now we're going to have to start pushing this nonsense line. Go ahead, Nick.
Isn't it fitting that this is their big guess? This shit lib. This is their big get. This is the guy they say they look up to, which makes sense because Zach is a Biden voter, right? They're cultivating an audience of dumb shit libs, right? And they're not even pulling that off because they don't even get a lot of the followers. They've still been stuck at that same fucking number despite having Kyle Kulinski and them calling their show because no one view them as interesting. So when you do the kind of content that they do, you attract this kind of shit libbery, this shit lib nonsense because you develop a unprincipled dumb left. That's exactly what they did. And this awkward situation, this fucking guy that they say they look up to sound literally just like fucking any standard MSNBC politician. Just the way you should be embarrassed that you supported Marianne Williamson. You should be supported. I mean, you should be embarrassed that you ever gave this guy credibility. Because I still remember them talking about, oh my God, I'm so excited we looked up to Cal. This guy's a shit lib. The fact that you look up to him explains everything about what you guys became. But anyway, let's continue.
Let's play.
Expectations. But now it complicates it even more because Cornel West is running, and I fucking love Cornel West, and he's way more in alignment with my politics. So if I was in New York, I probably would still vote for Cornel West and not for Biden. So anyway, tell me your thinking and why you're more or less convinced that it's the right thing to do to go Cornel West.
All right, gotcha. A lot to respond there.
Yeah, sorry about that spiel.
No, you're great. That's a lot of good stuff. So first of all, I do live in a safe state. I live in Missouri, which is 100% gonna go red. It does every year, at least during my lifetime. At one point, not so much, but nowadays, solidly red state. Joe Biden's not going to win it. In my opinion, it's going to go to the Republicans, no matter who I vote for. So I'm going to vote for Cornel West in the
Why is that part of your
election,
calculation?
despite acknowledging, and I think it is important for us lefties to acknowledge that, yes, Joe Biden is the lesser of two evils, and I would much rather him be president again than Donald Trump be president again. I think it's a huge red flag of a faux populist when you start hearing people like Jimmy Dore making the argument that actually Trump is the lesser of two evils, and he's
that is
literally less of a fascist.
Just to be clear, that is of all the things he said, that is by far and away the dumbest shit I've ever heard him say. And
Agreed.
for Sam Cedar to chime in and say, I'll debate him, I was watching that like, if he doesn't want to do it, I'll fucking do it. I'll do it. Because that shit is, are you like...
What sort of arguments would you bring to the debate, Kyle, about, like, how would you prove that the Democrats are better? Like, how would you prove? You can only prove it by virtue signaling. You couldn't prove it by anything tangible, no tangible legislation. So I would be curious, because this would be a debate where people aren't dealing with the same facts. Because he would think, and his audience and people like the Vanguard, they think that this debate is about what they virtue signal about. Joe Biden also says healthcare should be a human right. But then he also says he would veto Medicare for all. So what does that mean? Just because but that's how they would hold it up as, look, he at least said this.
Yeah. And to your point about them virtue signaling, they expose themselves, and I'm gonna show you this video while I make this point. They expose themselves as not even really believing in the climate crisis that they claim, right? So if you guys care about the climate like you guys claim you do, right? Where did the lesser two evils fit when it comes to the climate crisis? The scientists made recommendations. You either follow the scientists or not. You're not like, oh, he lesser two evil with it. No, you either following the science or not. You either approved the Willow Project or you did not, right? So these people that say, oh my God, the climate crisis, this is why we don't believe their bullshit no more. Because they're like, the climate crisis is existential. We got to stand up against big oil. But we got to support Joe Biden, who approved the Willow Project. How do those fit in? Is it existential crisis or is it not? How can you lesser two evils that? How can you lesser two evils war? There's very important topics that if you get wrong, you're immediately disqualified as a lesser evil. And if you believe in climate change, Noam Chomsky said people who are complicit with the climate crisis are committing genocide and one of the most evil people on the planet. So how can you square that with endorsing a guy who's complicit with apparently one of the most evil acts that you can commit, destroying the earth? This is why a lot of people stop buying Democratic Party climate bullshit, because they don't live their values. They're inconsistent. They only want you to make a sacrifice as they endorse people who are horrible for the climate. That's why people are skeptical. It's bullshit. But anyway, let's continue.
Like, do you have any brain cells left to make that argument? Like, that's the thing I don't like. He's a narrative humper and he's a terminal contrarian. So he has his narrative, which is like, actually, Democrats are the bigger evil. And it's like, if you follow the news,
Eric brings up here. You guys know that Joe Biden is the biggest eco-terrorist in modern human history? And it's literally not an exaggeration to say that, because of the Nord Stream pipeline, considered one of the biggest environmental disasters ever. Joe Biden blew it up, but Kyle Kulinski telling you he's a lesser evil, but he's serious about the climate. But anyway, let's continue.
No, let's take some of the things. Let's take climate. Let's take Medicare for all. Let's take like anything. Like, so what exactly are you saying the Democrats are better at? Are you saying abortion? Do you know how Joe Biden feels about abortion? Why he's not putting up a fight about abortion? Maybe you should look back at his record on what he feels about abortion. Like, it is such a, it's like, in order to believe this, Nick, and for them to sell it, it's like having to believe in Santa Claus. It's like talking yourself into believing in Santa Claus and then going out trying to sell Santa Claus to adults. That's what this feels like. It almost feels comical in a sense that it's so ridiculous. But let's listen.
Modern day, you would know for sure that it's factually false, or you do know that and you're lying because you're a narrative humper and you're sticking to your narrative no matter what. So anyway, sorry, I interjected there to show how pissed off I was at him over that.
And by the way, I think it's okay to reject the lesser of two evilism idea or that dynamic. If you say, okay, well, obviously Joe Biden is the lesser of two evils,
correct?
But
yes,
I don't want to participate, and I'm going to cast a protest vote. That's fine, but don't fucking pretend that Trump is the lesser of two evils. That's ridiculous. So yeah,
I'll let it play.
I do live in a safe state, and I would actually take it first.
Go ahead if you ain't going to chime in.
Remember what I said? Who uses the term protest vote? and anyway, let's continue. But the only people that said that is shitless. But let's continue.
Yeah.
Further than you, Kyle. You said if someone lives in a safe state, then you think it's totally fine to vote for a third party or Green Party candidate. I would actually go further than that. I would say if you live in a solidly red or solidly blue state and there's a Green Party candidate as good as Cornel West on the ballot, then you almost have no excuse not to vote for that candidate, right? Because if you're living in Missouri or California on the flip side of that,
You can
then
only oppose the
your vote
Democratic
is
Party
meaningless,
when nothing is
honestly.
on the line. I'm a deeply serious person who care about movement building. Only oppose the Democrats when they're going to maintain power. That's how you fight capitalism.
What does that do, though, Nick? Like, going off of their strategy, I would like to ask them the question, what does that do, Kyle? What does that do, Zach? What does that do, Gavin? What does it do to vote for Cornel West in safe states only? What does that do? I don't understand. Why not just vote for the Democrat? Why go through all these processes of, oh, I'm voting for this and that? Why not just vote for the Democrat from the beginning? Like, why are we doing all this other stuff? I don't get it, but let's listen some more.
And let's be honest about the presidential election. Unless you live in like one of 6 or 7 states, the vote you cast for president is one of the most meaningless things you're ever going to fucking do. Because of the Electoral College, it doesn't matter, honestly, unless you live in fucking Georgia, right? At this point. So I think that's something that needs to be said. And I wish that more people would understand how meaningless their vote for president is, because if more people employed my logic,
it's meaningless to vote for president, but these are the same people that's telling you to vote for Marianne Williamson. I don't know if they know how bad they are as advocates.
Their own argument.
I don't understand if they know how terrible they are as advocates. It's so meaningless unless you're in these several states. But meanwhile, go ahead and vote for Marianne Williamson and raise money. Like, is this an acknowledgement of them saying they're off the Marianne Williamson? This is like,
they have no
this is Kyle and all of them saying they're off the Marianne Williamson. They've given up on any strategy if that's really going to do anything. This has to be an acknowledgement of that. But let's continue.
Of, well, if I live in a state that's definitely going to go red or definitely going to go blue, so therefore I might as well just vote for the Green Party. I think if more people realize that, then the Green Party by now would have reached that 5% threshold that is necessary to get federal funding. And that's another reason why I'm very committed to getting Cornel West to 5%. I think that, yes, ranked choice voting is massively, massively important, and that we do need to work on making that a reality before third-party candidates can truly flourish. But I think almost equally important is getting the Green Party to 5% in a national election. That way they can get federal funding and matching funds. That'll make them a much more formidable force in the next general election. And also, I think that there is definitely a lot to be said about ranked choice voting. Zach and I are huge advocates of it. And I think it's hugely important for the third party movement. But if you do look at some previous examples of third party victories, one that Zach and I have studied is Jesse Ventura's election as a third party governor in Minnesota. It actually was him getting on the debate stage that really made a difference in that. He was far, far behind in the polls, losing to the Republican Norm Coleman and the Democrat Skip Humphrey, who are much more established politicians in the state of Minnesota. He was like far behind them, basically just considered like a joke candidate until there was debates. And then Jesse Ventura, through his ability to contrast his populist perspective with the corporate Democrat and the corporate Republican, it immediately changed, basically overnight after that debate. Now, obviously, not everyone is as talented and charismatic as Jesse Ventura, but I would argue that Cornel West comes pretty close. And if we could get a Ross Perot kind of situation where he is able to, crack 10, 15% in a general election poll and get on the debate stage, I think that would be huge. I mean, I think that would be a fucking earthquake. Like, people would immediately wake up and realize this is okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let me interject, because Ross Perot is actually the example I was going to bring up, which is the example of the most successful independent run for president at the national level. And he got, I believe the number was, I'm actually trying to look it up right now, but I think the number was
18%.
Yeah, I thought it was 19. Okay, 18% of the vote.
It's like 18 and change, but it's not quite 19.
But he got 0 electoral college votes. And also, it's widely agreed upon among historians that he's like the main reason why Bill Clinton
won.
was able to win, right? So in a
Why do
weird
we
way,
care?
that sort of makes the resistance liberal argument where it's like, okay, so do you want to hand it over to Trump by giving a significant chunk of the vote to a third party candidate who's not going to win and just sort of split?
So Nick, you got the Vanguard boys who are outflanking Kyle Kulinski on his own show because this is Kyle trying to downsell or downplay the point that he just made. He's trying to downplay it like, oh, you really want to do this? So now, Nick, so you have Kyle that went from establishing the Justice Democrats, and part of the strategy was building up a third party. He went from that, built up Justice Democrats and built up a third party at the same time. He went from that to now he is advocating against third parties. He is advocating against any other party being in the final general election except for the red or blue because of Trump. That's what we're at. Go ahead.
Kyle said, you don't want to show the establishment that you actually have political power that can influence a campaign, don't you? You don't want to flex the political power of your movement. That would be horrible. Like, yes, I want to be the reason why Joe Biden loses. That's exactly what we want, you deeply unserious clown. As I mentioned on the Jimmy Dore show, if we have a third-party movement, that is the ultimate reflection of our power as a working class movement in terms of the electoral process. So if you lose by 5%, we get 5%, we say, yes, come get our vote. That's the ultimate flex of political power that we want. Imagine decrying that power. He's saying, oh my God, you want power? Yes. Are you serious? Like, I would literally, like, we had a debate. He asked me that question. I was like, you serious? Yes. That's exactly the kind of king-making power that we are looking for. Are you serious? Anyway, let's continue.
The vote of anybody who's center or left of center and just hand all the right-wing votes over to one person, because obviously Cornel West is on the left, so he's going to take more, in theory, from, a Democratic candidate. So, look, my point is this. I think we should, if you get rid of first-past-the-post voting and you do ranked choice voting and you get it tomorrow, I would literally be like a Green Party cheerleader. I would become like an evangelist for them. Because then, then you are, by definition, you're serious. Because even whether or not people believe in the idea of a spoiler or they don't, it almost doesn't matter, because it's all about the perception of people that there is a spoiler effect, right? And that's real, that people have a perception of it, even if it's true or not.
Let me burst Kyle's
but if
bubble. And there are a lot of duopolists who like the idea of ranked choice voting. I'm not going to help you. You guys know neoliberals are elected in states with ranked choice voting. I'm not in for ranked choice voting anymore. I'm for star voting. Ranked choice voting is garbage, because ranked choice voting, you're still voting for the lesser two evils, unless you don't rank someone. Which, as third-party activists, guess what we're gonna advocate for? Which burst the bubble of people, duopolists like Kyle. If you don't want to vote for a war criminal, our message as Green Party activists is gonna be: you rank Dr. Cornel West and you rank no one else, because doing it the other way showed the flaw of ranked choice voting. And that's why people advocate for star voting instead. Because if under ranked choice voting, you're still voting for a war criminal, unless you do it the way I advocate for, where you don't have a second or third choice. So anyway, let's go ahead. CJ.
Eric Adams was elected under ranked choice voting. Dissidents also talks about this when they broke this down last night. They broke this same thing down, but they do a more of a deep dive whiteboard kind of thing where they talk about how ranked choice voting doesn't fix this problem with the red-blue team, because the red-blue team, you would just get one of the red and one of the blue team to still win. This is so stupid. But we don't have to go into that detail. But it looked like you were going to chime in and say one more thing.
We can continue. We can continue.
Yeah. So let's continue.
If you do ranked choice voting and get rid of first past post voting, then you immediately get rid of any objection to having an independent candidate or a third party candidate. And then I genuinely think overnight, the Green Party becomes more viable. The Libertarian Party becomes more viable. You could come up with some new party. You could run as an independent, and that would become more viable. So I guess my frustration is in this discussion, everybody always puts the cart before the horse. And I autistically am like, why? But why are you putting the cart before the horse?
Another important point I have to make, I apologize.
Do it the other way.
Well, I have to make this point because they keep saying, well, we can't support a third party until we get ranked choice voting, until we overhaul elections. How do we do that unless we have a third party? Capitalism give us the power to have an election system where where a third party is gonna win. That you know what we talk about movement building instead of winning elections because they're gonna rig the game against us. The movement building comes first. So you talk about the cart before the horse. The only way you get the accomplishments that we want is by having a third party. You get it? Anyway, let's continue. I need to stop.
They steady want to sell you on. You can use the tools of the establishment to take apart the establishment, which is just a fucking joke. It's ridiculous, but that's what he's trying to sell you on. But it's getting harder and harder for him to sell anybody on this nonsense. But let's continue.
Other way. And then like I'm there with you, but when you don't do it, it makes me feel like it's sort of delusional in a sense.
Well, can I take a crack at that one, Kyle?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that
here's the Biden voter to defend voting for third parties. like Zach voted for Biden. At least Gavin can debate his position because he didn't vote third party. But this guy's a Biden voter. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, let's continue.
You have a different experience. I wonder if it's a little bit if more people are plugged in the DC area. But I feel like the reason that a lot of people put so much pressure on the every the 4-year cycle, of presidency is it's because that's when you get people's eye on the ball, and I do understand that you're playing with fire when you're dealing with a third party candidate and you're facing a guy like Donald Trump. But I think that the worry is that it would be infinitely more difficult because of how stressed out everybody is, because of how spread thin everybody is, and because the media machine already trains everybody and is incentivized to keep their eyes on the horse race because that's a profitable mechanism. I think a lot of people just feel like it can be harnessed to get a third party off of the ground in a way that it might not be able to be harnessed to get something like ranked choice voting off the ground. And I think that as a YouTuber, obviously we're completely jaded, right? But if you look at our,
that's why you vote for Biden.
Like Gavin one time, he spent 12 hours in his room cutting this super in-depth video essay about why ranked choice voting in Maine was super important and everybody should take a look at it because this was 2020. It was a hot button issue and it got 86 views. You start making clips about, the horse race, electoral politics, you get a lot more engagement. So I just think that's why people, decide to put the cart before the horse is because otherwise, that horse might not move.
I also just think people are sick and tired of waiting. But
okay, Biden voter.
I hear you, but that's more like the point that I'm making to do those things. It's more of like a procedural and administrative type argument, not that it needs to be this big public show. We're going to get ranked choice.
So the Vanguard, Nick, is here to try to pull Kyle Kulinski to the left. That's what's happening.
They're trying to save
the
him.
Vanguard. The Vanguard is here trying to pull him to the left. And they keep playing these devil advocates. And then he comes in and says, oh, hold on. Let me tell you why that's nonsense. And let me tell you why I'm more of a shit lib than you think. And if you don't think the Vanguard is going to take lessons and take notes here, and then all of a sudden they're going to be speaking in this manner if they're not already doing so. But this is the professional managerial class media. This is the Bernie Sanders industrial complex media. This is it, Nick. This is so important why RBN has came in at the point that it came in, because if there was 0 voices or not as many voices, or at least a black voice saying what we're saying about what this, think about there'll be no pushback against David Sirota, be no pushback against Marianne Williamson, be no pushback against going through this same process of going through the Democratic Party again. It'll just be this nonsensical, these conversations where nobody's challenging this shit. And everybody just kind of go, well, Kyle said it and he kind of explained it. And okay, so he explained the same thing about the freaking Justice Democrats and said we have to build up a third party with logic.
And
this is his whole thing. Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
People say, why you guys always go after these people? Because we expose how fucking ridiculous they are. Like before the era of RBN, Cal Kulinski and Sam Cedar and these people go on these unhinged shit-lived rants, and no one will call him out because of civility politics. Oh yeah, I know he leading the workers off a cliff over there. I know he cultivating a dumb left audience, but I can't call him out because that would be rude. Well, here comes RBN, who never really cared about making friends with them anyway. So I want to play my video after you get done with this segment here, CJ. But
yeah, no, I think because there's other little small clips we can play if we wanted to play more. But as far as listening to the whole thing, I think we can bring it to a close here. And then I'll pass it to you if you had anything.
Yeah, I'll just play my response. This is the video I made earlier. Big shout out to Hotspot and Nico House who work with me making these videos. But this is another response because I'm confident in my positions, and I don't understand why people are so afraid of political discourse. I mean, sometimes you take an L, man. It happens. That's how you learn. That's how I became the person I am. Right? I don't know why people are fucking afraid. If you have a position, you take. Why aren't you willing to defend it? He's saying it with your chest. So here's my response, and I'm like, man, I'm not begging, but I asked for you guys for debates, and they trying to still pretend RBN don't exist. So this is my response video, because I can't get a debate with these people who swear to God they on the right side of this issue, right? Anyway, here it is.
The 2024 campaign season is here, so now we got to deal with more lesser two evils garbage. Democratic Party operative Cal Kulinski claims the Democratic Party is 1 trillion times better than the Republican Party. We told you guys at RBN that Marianne Williamson supporters are just Democratic Party sheepdogs. Marianne Williamson's campaign is dead on arrival, so her supporters are skipping steps. Now they're just becoming full-fledged Biden bro Democrats. My sincere question is, under what metric is Biden or Democrats a lesser two evils than Donald Trump? Joe Biden is funding ICE $6 billion more than Donald Trump. Joe Biden took COVID relief funds and gave it to the police. It's the Democratic Party that is building Cop City. Joe Biden expanded public drilling. He's a fracker, and he approved of the Willow Project. The fact that climate activists are endorsing this guy shows that they truly don't believe in what they are saying. Joe Biden has threw millions of people off of their health care. Joe Biden also said he would veto Medicare fraud if it ever came to his desk. Tell me more about how you care about Medicare fraud, though, Cal Kulinski. But Nick, Biden is the lesser of two evils because Donald Trump is a maniac who may plunge us into World War III. That's actually Joe Biden.
So those videos
can't deny it.
That's my last thoughts. Anyway, CJ,
can't deny it.
We gotta get the super chats. I don't know. We got another.
Yeah,
story.
go ahead. No, you can do the super chats. We can get some super chats and get out of here.
Yeah. Or do we got another story? Or
anyway, I mean, we have the Max. We have the Max story. I think we can push it to another tomorrow if you want.
Yeah.
We got the Max story.
That's a story we don't want to rush. That's a story we don't want to rush through. So Anyway, let's see.
We can do super chats if you want.
I'll start from the bottom. All right. Thank you for the $5. Christopher again. Don't buy the lie that star voting is too complicated. One of Oregon's political science professors helped create it. You rank them plus you rate them like a film. Yeah, if you guys don't know, you give them a point. There's a point system. So if you can rank someone 10 out of 10, and this is why it's actually it's much better, because when you do ranked choice voting, you're just doing 1, 2, and 3. But in star voting, you can grade them on a scale. So like when you say that, oh, I would prefer Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump, what that really mean? They both shit, right? So when star voting, you can rank your preferred candidate a 10, and you can give Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden 0 because they are both evils, right? That's why it's much more preferred than ranked choice voting, where you have to put a lesser evil out in front. It's much preferred, and it's actually much more democratic. Anyway, let's move on here. Thanks for the $5, Janice. Kyle Kulinski is lying again. The most successful was La Follette in 1924. He got 17% popular and 3% electoral votes. Perot had 0% electoral, more than popular. Anyway, thank you for the $5, Janice. And we got another $5 from Name My Taco. Kyle's so annoying that I had to give $10 to Tour for the Poor to cleanse my soul. That's definitely what we recommend while you watch these shows. I can't believe I listened to that clown. I think he's smart. Shake my head. I saw Kyle debunk Russiagate. Like that's when he really caught my attention at first because I knew like, oh, this is another guy who actually see through Russiagate. Good for him. That was my opinion of Kulinski for a long time. Even more recently, I start seeing his other tale. Like, holy shit, this guy is horrible. Wasn't he supposed to be like I assumed he was good because he got Russiagate right. I was like, all right, he seems like a decent guy. Even if I disagree on a little stuff, at least he got that right. But now he's just a rank Democrat propagandist. So it's super weird to see someone who can see through Russiagate. That's how you know it's a sellout. Because if you're smart enough, or at least you aware enough to point that out, how are you just falling for this shit now? That's why I don't give these people. I don't think these people are stupid. I'm a college dropout, man. I'm not that fucking smart. Like these people are not this dumb. Like these people make calculated decisions. Anyway, thank you for $5, Chris. Push your state legislator to pass universal ranked choice voting. Greens are doing it here in Oregon. We already got new motor voter registration. Thank you, Chris. This is a Green Party member. Left a few chats, so we appreciate that. Another one from Janice. Sorry, was cooking, so off topic. First past the post is a made-up term to inspire fear voting. There is no post in our system as a plurality vote. Thank you, Janice. On point as well. One thing that it doesn't matter. like when they talk about first past the post, like why you even bring it? It doesn't matter. Like you vote your values. Doesn't matter what the system is. Like where's the confusion? Like they're like, oh, you can't vote your values because we in first past the post. Watch me. What the fuck you talking about? Oh, I gotta compromise my value because the system sucks. You gotta vote for the war criminal because the system sucks. I'm gonna vote for people who have no class interest in mind with me because the system sucks. That's a cop-out. The reality is they don't care about issues. And so they blame first past the fucking post or whatever because they don't give a fuck that Joe Biden is implementing a police state. That he's escalating World War III. He helping Israel commit genocide against the Palestinians. So they gotta bring up some bullshit that's irrelevant, like first past the post, to justify why they vote for this guy. They have no morals. They have no values. Anyway, thank you for the $5. Also, Colin, our comrade, we had him on recently on Wednesday and Thursday. So Colin is a regular contributor on RBN. Notice that in this clip, Kyle mentions nothing about Ukraine, which exposes the whole game. We cover this kind of stuff all the time: geopolitical politics, the relationship to the United States and China, how the United States is alienating its allies. Because in my lifetime, it's one of the most significant developments since the war on terror. Like the Ukraine war is one of the most significant happenings in the United States posturing the separation of the global hegemon. Come on, sneeze. One of the biggest stories out there, right? But you don't talk about it. They're not part of your equation at all. Like Joe Biden permanently weakened Europe. Europe economy is fucked with inflation, energy prices, and that's not part of your calculation and lesser two evils. You showing how unserious you are. It's the thing. It's fucking the thing. When when Dr. Cornel West announced, the first thing I fucking did was I Googled Dr. Cornel West Ukraine to see if I missed something. And luckily he was right, because I promise if he was wrong, I would came on the stream the next day. Like, you guys see what this motherfucker said about Ukraine? That's the fucking thing to talk about when you talk about Commander-in-Chief right now. Anyway, let me move on, because I know we both probably short on time. So thank you for the $2. Name my taco. Appreciate all the super chats today. We had actually there's a lot of work on because we got the labor summit this week. Support. We got a lot of work to do. So this stuff actually really make it possible for us to continue this. So we appreciate it. Thank you for the $2. Name my taco. It's a very easy calculus. I'm voting for Dr. West. Yeah, see, you see how it's easy. Like they understand. You don't. I'm not waiting first past my post. All this shit. No. Dr. Cornel West share my values, so I vote for him. Like, why is there even a conversation about that? Right. Another one from Janice. Oh, yeah, I didn't do it with the off comment that they said they made. Appreciate they talking about the music here. Appreciate the $5, Janice. Thank you for the $2, Roger. Meadows, don't forget sound of DA police. Very disappointed. Thank you, Roger. And we almost caught it. I think Oh yeah, I think we caught up. I think that last one from Roger, because we back to Eric, and I remember seeing this one as well. So big shout out to everyone. Let me check the bottom again, make sure there's not a new one. I see you put a correction here and a solidarity super sticker. So with that said, actually it may be a pretty light week for me, to be honest. I actually got like 2 meetings tomorrow and to finalize everything with the summit. So I'll play tomorrow by ear, CJ. We see how tomorrow goes. We got to play this week by ear because we got the big summit this week. So I don't want to pre-announce anything yet if anything come up. So this week, please, everyone, we need everyone to spread the word. These streams are fun, but now these summits is what RBN is about. Like, this is the big education event. So as much as you guys share these streams where we're having fun, we'll be discussing political ideas. Now is the time where we're gonna have our educational summits that we usually do about two of those a year. So the Labor Summit this Saturday, big shout out and props to Jimmy Dore for allowing me to plug it on the Jimmy live stream. So make sure you mark your calendar. So it's an all-day event. Starting from, I think it's like 10 p.m. 10 a.m. Eastern time. We start
10 to 10. Yes.
And we got quite a few good streams for you guys. So that's all I have in terms of this stream. We got through our super chats. Make sure you guys check to see if you still subscribe and support us on Patreon if you want us to continue to do these summits. That's also how we pay Erin. I give her a portion of Patreon as well, and that's also how we take care of labor in general. So we want to make sure everyone is paid their fair labor value. So if you want to support our channel, Patreon is one of the best ways to do that. We got GoFundMe, a lot of different links, and also check out Rome too, because Rome is doing great things with the library. So and I don't want to announce anything yet because I got this plan where at the RBN Campaign chapter I want to raise at least, my goal is $1,000 for school supplies, and I can go to school. My plan is to go to schools, go to parks. There's donate some. I want to do something for poor disenfranchised kids. So that link will be coming later, maybe in the next week or two. But maybe I gotta wait till after the summit. After the summit, I'm ready to sit down and we're gonna focus on that. So, and JB also got an event coming up. RBN chapter, there's a lot going on. Savvy doing a lot in Boston. CJ just finished an event. So your guys' support allow us to do these kind of things. So much appreciated to our community. So CJ, that's all I have. I'll pass to you to wrap us up, and I'll see you guys around.
Yeah, I've got this video here, and it's from Breakthrough News as our closeout video. It says, after a state trooper appeared to pull a weapon on a 10-year-old child, Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced he is sending even more troops to patrol Austin streets. Activists say their policing tactics are racist, with 88% of misdemeanor arrests of Black or Latino people. So we'll let this video be our closeout video. So thank you for watching.
After a state trooper appeared to pull a weapon on a 10-year-old child, Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced he is sending more state troopers to patrol Austin streets. The city is officially demanding the troopers leave, but both the Department of Public Safety and the governor have threatened to override local authority. In the first month of patrols, DPS officers made 167 arrests for misdemeanors such as small amounts of marijuana, even though this is decriminalized in Austin. 88% of the people arrested for misdemeanors were Black or Latino. DPS claimed the officers were in the city to prevent crime, but residents quickly noticed patterns of extremely heavy patrolling in Black and Latino neighborhoods.
Up until we began this operation, and all of a sudden you see a large, increase in the amount of stops of Hispanic drivers. Where the Hispanic population is higher, you can expect that we bring in 80 troopers and 20 special agents, that the numbers are going to increase dramatically. In fact, we're already out, just this initiative alone, 11,000 stops.
Just one day after the first incident, another state trooper in Austin shot a driver in the arm during a pursuit. This is not the first time Abbott has sent DPS officers to patrol a major city. In 2019, state troopers were sent in to patrol Dallas. In their 3-month takeover, officers made 12,000 traffic stops and arrested over 500 people. 64% were Black. DPS officers even shot 27-year-old Shaston Hodge 16 times after Hodge failed to use a turn signal. Abbott had briefly sent DPS officers to patrol the border after the end of Title 42, which activists condemned as another racist stunt. Mayor of Austin, Kirk Watson, initially supported bringing in state troopers, but has since backtracked on the partnership.
We decided that it was an appropriate time to suspend the partnership that we had with the Texas Department of Department of Public Safety.
This struggle is one of the many state attacks on municipal governments in Texas. Activists say racist policing must end, and they are demanding the removal of DPS officers and that the state stop using its interference with local government to score political points.